Welcome to English Speak Pulse, the home of natural, fluent English. I'm Danielle, and if you've ever felt your heart race or your mind go blank when someone speaks English to you, trust me, you're not the only one.
And I'm Sarah. We've all been there. You understand every word in your head, but when it's your turn to speak, your tongue just freezes, right? You start worrying, what if I make a mistake? Or what if I sound silly?
Here's the truth. Fluency has nothing to do with perfect grammar or memorizing words. It's all about training your brain to think in English and respond without fear.
And the amazing part? You can train yourself to do that. Anywhere, anytime, with just a few daily speaking habits we're going to show you in this episode.
So stay with us till the end, because after today, you'll know how to speak English naturally, confidently, and without hesitation. Let's break that fear and start speaking for real.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into something, well, I think almost every language learner has felt. That moment in a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You know the words, you think you've got the grammar down, but when you go to actually speak, to respond, you just freeze. You hesitate. And that pause, it's just long enough,
Yeah.
The conversation moves on without you. Window missed.
It's so frustrating. And look, if you're listening to this, we really want you to get this one thing right from the start. That pause, that hesitation, it is not a sign that you're bad at English. It's not about your vocabulary size, really. Our sources are pretty clear on this. Yeah. It's more of a mechanical problem, like a system delay. Your mind and your mouth, they're just not quite in sync yet.
That's a huge way to reframe it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when we speak our native language, whatever it is, Spanish, Hindi, Arabic, Urdu,
Sure.
the words just come out. It feels automatic, instantaneous. But then you switch to English, and suddenly there's this friction. It can feel almost painful.
Precisely. You're asking your brain to do this extra background task. And honestly, it just eats up all the available processing power. We've been calling this mental drag, this sort of active, conscious conversion thing, the translation tax.
Translation tax, I like that.
Yeah, and this tax, it's basically the difference between having that automatic fluency, that flow, and having to construct every single sentence piece by piece.
Okay, let's really unpack that, the translation tax.
Yeah.
Because I think it explains exactly why that freeze, that hesitation actually happens. The sources we looked at, they detail this like 5-step loop the brain gets stuck in.
Oh, it's a real workout for the brain. It really is. So it starts when someone asks you something, right? Step 1. You hear and understand the question in English. Okay, so far.
Okay.
Step 2. Your brain often does a quick translation of that question into your native language. It's sort of a confirmation, like, did I get that right?
Oh, okay. A safety check.
Exactly. Step 3. Then you think up your answer. Often a really detailed, perfect answer, but in your native language.
Right, because that's where you feel most comfortable and precise.
Precisely. Step 4. Now you have to translate that perfect native answer back into English. And you're probably checking the grammar, finding the right words.
Which takes time.
A lot of time. And then finally, step 5. You actually manage to say the words out loud.
And like you said earlier, by the time you hit step 5, the conversation is probably 3 topics down the road. You're basically talking to yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's moved on, discussing, I don't know, the weather or something.
But hang on. The assumption is often that we need that translation loop, right?
Yeah.
Especially for accuracy. What if I'm in, say, a really important meeting? Or I'm an engineer and I need absolute technical precision. Isn't some translation necessary then, just to make sure I'm saying exactly the right thing?
That's a really good practical question. And what's fascinating is that the sources kind of agree, but with a twist. High-speed, flowing conversation and that kind of deliberate, technically precise speech, they seem to use slightly different brain systems.
Huh.
Yeah. Understanding English, that's passive reception. Speaking English, that's active production. They're separate skills. And if flow is your main goal in that moment, you have to be willing to let go of the immediate hunt for perfect translation. Speaking fluently relies more on automatic recall, not conscious building.
So you're saying sacrifice that instant, maybe perfect precision for eventual conversational speed. That feels a bit counterintuitive.
It does initially, but think of it like learning to drive a stick shift, a manual car.
Okay.
At first, you're consciously thinking through every single step. Okay, clutch in, shift to second, ease off the clutch, a little bit of gas.
Right.
Every action is calculated. It's slow, it's jerky.
Totally. Very stressful.
Yeah. But after a few weeks, maybe months, your hands and feet just do it. You're not thinking about the steps anymore. It's become automatic.
That's fluency right there, isn't it? When that mental checklist just vanishes and it becomes like muscle memory.
Exactly. So if you want to speak English without paying that heavy translation tax every single time, you have to train your brain to skip the translation step, to start thinking and recalling English sound patterns automatically.
Okay, so that's the mechanical side, the translation tax.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the other huge piece, which you mentioned earlier, the emotional block.
Yeah.
This can be even more paralyzing than not knowing a word. It's that fear.
Oh, absolutely. The fear of judgment, the fear of making a mistake, sounding silly, maybe someone laughing.
Yeah.
That emotional hurdle, it can slam the brakes on a conversation completely. You could know all the grammar rules, have a great vocabulary stored up, but if that fear, that kind of perfection block kicks in, your voice just freezes. Doesn't matter how much English you technically know.
I was nodding along so much when I read that case study, the one about the student. She could write these amazing English essays like flawless structure, great words.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But the second she was in a meeting, needing to speak, her voice would apparently shape. She'd pause constantly, just totally paralyzed by the fear of messing up. It's actually kind of comforting to know that's a common
But
thing.
it really is. It's that classic overthinker experience. And notice the solution for her, it wasn't more grammar exercises.
Right?
No, the coaching advice was simple. Start with short, easy sentences. And the main instruction was just, don't try to be perfect, just speak. Let it out.
And what was the result?
Within 2 weeks, apparently, she was speaking much more freely in those meetings, confidently even. Mistakes and all, you know? The key was just giving herself permission not to be flawless. That was the breakthrough.
That really hits home. That's the big mistake so many learners make, right? Overthinking every single word before it comes out. I've done it myself. Spent ages mentally debating, like, should I use fewer or less here?
Yeah.
By the time I decide, who cares? The moment's gone.
Exactly. We need to learn to just let the thoughts flow, get the words out, even if they're not perfect. Make the mistake. Then, maybe later, think about correcting it, but not in the middle of the flow.
Yeah, you got to keep the momentum.
Absolutely. Fluency isn't really about speed, is it? It's about flow. Think about native speakers. We make small grammar slip-ups all the time, little mistakes.
Yeah.
But we don't stop the whole conversation dead to fix them usually. We just power through.
Yeah.
Keep the connection going. Learners need to adopt that mindset. Forward motion. Always forward motion.
Okay, so if the goal is ditching the translation tax and finding that flow, how do we actually practice? We need to train the brain to think directly in English, right?
Yeah.
You said fluency lives in the mouth, not just in the notebook.
That's it exactly. It's physical. So let's talk about 3 specific techniques to build that automatic recall muscle. The first one is designed to break that translation habit fast.
Okay, technique 1, a quick fire self-training thing.
Yeah. So think of a simple question, something immediate, like, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Okay, got one.
Now, here's the challenge for you listening right now. Don't translate the answer in your head. Don't plan it out. Just say it out loud, instantly, in English.
So no searching for the perfect word or the most complex sentence structure. If the answer that pops out is, like, I eat egg toast, that's okay.
That's more than, okay, that's a win. The only goal here is speed, that immediate thought-to-speech link. Every time you produce an instant response like that, you're weakening that old hesitation habit.
Got it. Instant response practice. What's technique 2?
Technique 2 focuses on training your mouth and your sense of rhythm at the same time. It's called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, I've heard of this. How does it work exactly?
So you listen to a short clip of a native speaker, maybe just 2 or 3 sentences, then you pause it for like half a second, just a beat.
Okay.
And then you repeat exactly what they said, not just the words, but try to mimic the tone, the rhythm, the intonation, the ups and downs.
So you're kind of like their shadow, vocally?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And doing this, even just for, say, 10 minutes a day, it trains multiple things at once. Your mouth gets used to forming the sounds, your memory gets better at holding chunks of language, and you start to internalize the natural rhythm and flow of English. You start to feel it rather than just translate it.
And that ties into confidence too, right?
Yeah.
I notice hesitation often vanishes when people talk about stuff they really know well. Their hobbies, their job, their city.
Absolutely. That's a key insight. When you talk about topics you own, things you're passionate or knowledgeable about, your confidence just naturally goes up.
Right.
So a good tip is to start practicing these fluency techniques on personal, familiar topics first. Your brain doesn't have to struggle finding the basic words, so you can focus on the flow.
That makes sense. Use familiar ground to build a new skill. Now, you mentioned something we need to avoid, a common mistake.
Yes. Big mistake. Memorizing hundreds of perfect sentences from a list or a notebook, writing them down meticulously, and then expecting that to magically translate into fluent speech.
Ah, the notebook trap. You think if you just know enough sentences, you'll be fluent.
Exactly. But if you don't actually say those sentences out loud repeatedly with feeling, your brain doesn't store them as speech patterns. It stores them as text. You need to speak with emotion, connect ideas naturally, let it flow, so your brain banks it as spoken language.
That emphasis on speaking it, feeling it, connects nicely to the third technique,
Right.
which sounds like it tackles that emotional block head on. Mirror practice.
Yes, mirror practice. It sounds simple, maybe even a little awkward at first, but it's incredibly effective for building that mental toughness.
So what do you do?
You stand in front of a mirror, look yourself directly in the eye, and just speak English for, say, 1 minute. No script, no notes, just talk.
Okay, why the mirror? Why add that layer of self-consciousness? This
Yeah.
seems intense.
Because speaking isn't just about words and grammar, it's physical. It involves your expression, your eye contact, your body language, your tone of voice.
Right, all the nonverbal stuff.
Yeah. And when you practice in the mirror, you're forced to confront and manage all those things while you're producing English. You see yourself speaking the language. It builds real, grounded confidence because you're literally facing yourself, accepting yourself, flaws and all, while you do it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. You're practicing the whole communication package.
Exactly.
So let's quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. That awful hesitation, that freeze, it's mostly down to that slow internal translation tax, not necessarily because your English skills are weak.
Right. It's a connection speed issue.
And the goal shouldn't be perfect grammar right out of the gate. It should be flow. Keep the conversation moving.
Aim for flow over flawlessness.
And we build that flow actively, using things like that instant response exercise to break the translation habit,
Yep.
using shadowing to get the rhythm and mouth muscles working together,
Crucial for rhythm.
and using mirror practice to build that real-world confidence and manage the full communication act.
Absolutely. Start weaving those into your practice, even just a little bit each day. You'll likely start noticing that learning to speak fluently feels less about cramming vocabulary and more about, well, liberating the voice you already have.
We talked about how speaking is tied so much to emotion and connection, not just technical skill. So here's a final thought for you to maybe chew on, especially after you try that mirror practice technique.
Okay.
What happens when you start to notice, really notice in the mirror, that your voice sounds confident, that it's flowing, even if you know you just made a small grammar mistake? Pay attention to how your posture changes, maybe your expression, when you stop chasing that impossible perfect speaker image and just let the sound flow. That shift towards maybe self-acceptance, that might just be the most powerful part of unlocking real fluency. Have you ever been right in the middle of saying something in English, maybe in a meeting or just chatting with someone, and then suddenly nothing? Your mind just goes completely blank.
Oh, absolutely. It's something so many learners experience.
Yeah, and it's strange because you know the words, you know the grammar rules, right?
Yeah.
But everything just freezes up. You're terrified of, I don't know, saying the wrong thing or maybe people judging your accent.
That's exactly it. And when we looked into this, the sources are really clear. The problem usually isn't a lack of English knowledge. You've probably put in the hours, you understand the structures.
So it's not the language barrier then?
Not primarily, no. The real battle is internal. It's that little voice, that mental filter going, careful, you'll mess up, or this won't sound good enough.
That mental filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total fluency killer. And we're often so hard on ourselves for tiny errors, things that honestly even fluent speakers do all the time. What did the research say about that?
Well, it highlights that imperfection is basically universal. Native speakers, they use grammatical shortcuts, informal ways of speaking constantly.
Like what, for example?
Oh, things like saying, if I would have known, instead of the strictly correct, if I had known. Or maybe there's lots of people here instead of there are lots of people.
Right, you hear that kind of thing all the time.
Exactly. But the key difference is their confidence. They just keep going. They push past the small slip up and the conversation just flows. It's not really impeded by those little things.
Okay, so if even native speakers aren't perfect, then our goal today seems pretty clear. We're going to dive deep into the psychology behind this language anxiety. We want to give you the tools, the sort of like psychological toolkit to build that confidence when you speak. Because confidence isn't something you're born with, right? It's built through action.
Built, not born. I like that.
Okay, let's really unpack this psychological side then. If we know the words, we know the rules, why does our body sometimes react with, well, actual panic when we try to speak?
Yeah, it feels physical, doesn't it? We need to look at the brain's built-in alarm system. It's called the amygdala.
The amygdala. Okay.
For many people learning English, the act of speaking it, especially in situations that feel high stakes, like a job interview or maybe giving a presentation, their brain interprets that as a genuine social risk.
A risk. Like a threat.
Sometimes, yeah, even a threat to their social standing or image. The brain doesn't always distinguish well.
Wow. So you're saying we trigger the fight or flight response just by trying to order a coffee or answer a simple question at work?
In some cases, precisely. Your brain isn't seeing it as just, a language task. It's perceiving it as a kind of survival challenge.
And that explains the physical stuff.
It does. The physiological results are almost instant. Your heart starts pounding, maybe your hands get clammy, your voice might even tremble or sound thin.
Okay, but here's the really crucial thing for learners to grasp, I think. If the amygdala is all fired up like that, it's basically hijacking your resources, isn't it?
That's exactly the problem. It's diverting energy to survival functions.
Which means less energy for the thinking part of the brain.
Right. When your brain is stressed, it starts shutting down what it considers non-essential functions in that moment. And unfortunately for language learners, things like complex grammar retrieval, searching for the right vocabulary, or even just forming smooth sentences.
Like fall into the non-essential category.
During that perceived threat, yes. That's why you suddenly forget simple words you absolutely know. The stress is literally blocking your brain's access to its own language database.
So the stress isn't just uncomfortable. It's actively, neurologically killing your fluency in that moment.
It really is. That's a good way to put it.
Understanding that frame is powerful, though.
Yeah.
Because if it's a mental, even chemical reaction, we know we can start to reprogram it. But first, let's talk about a huge mistake that keeps this whole anxiety cycle going.
Yes, the waiting game.
The waiting game. Explain that.
It's the learner who thinks, okay, I'll start really speaking English, confidently once I feel totally ready, once I'm perfect. We see this constantly.
And it sounds logical, but it's like saying, I'll jump in the pool once I already know how to swim perfectly. It doesn't work that way, does it?
It really doesn't. Improvement comes from doing, from the practice itself, not just passive study or waiting. If you wait for perfection, honestly, you'll wait forever. Fluency is a skill you build through action and feedback.
And this ties into how we view mistakes, doesn't it? We often see our errors as proof we're failing. But the sources we looked at suggest something different.
They really hammer this point home. Errors aren't failures. They are essentially teachers.
Teachers? How so?
Well, think about how kids learn their first language. A toddler might proudly say, I run really fast, or Daddy, go to work.
Right.
Do we scold them for bad grammar? Usually not. We understand it's part of the process. We might gently correct them. Oh, you ran fast. Or Daddy went home, and we encourage them. We don't make them feel ashamed.
That's true. We never assume a child misusing a verb is, like, fundamentally failing at language. So why is it so incredibly difficult to give ourselves that same grace as adults learning a second language?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it's because as adults, we attach judgment to errors. We fear looking incompetent. Children, on the other hand, tend to see errors simply as feedback. Oh, that wasn't right. Okay, I'll try something else.
So fluency grows faster if you can actually internalize that truth, that errors are just data points needed for learning.
Exactly. If you're not allowing yourself to make mistakes, to fail in that sense, you're actually slowing down your own progress significantly.
Okay, this is all great context. Let's get into some practical tools then. How do we actively fight this stress response and reset the mind? Let's start with the first technique, the fear flip.
Right, the fear flip. It's a cognitive technique, basically a way to reframe your thinking. Instead of trying to suppress the fear, you actually use its energy.
How's that work?
Okay, first step. Get really specific about the fear. Don't just say, I'm scared. Identify the exact worry. Is it, I'm afraid I'll pause too long and seem unprofessional, or maybe I'm scared I'll mess up my verb tenses and people will laugh.
Okay, so you nail down the specific fear. Then what?
Then you flip it. You turn that fear into a motivation, or at least into evidence of something positive.
Can you give an example? How would you flip, people will laugh if I make a mistake?
Okay, so the fear is being laughed at. You could flip it to something like, okay, if they laugh, or even if I think they might, it actually proves I'm being brave. It means I'm trying, I'm pushing my boundaries, I'm actively improving my English. Staying silent is easy, trying is impressive.
So you're turning the potential negative outcome into proof of your effort and courage.
Precisely. You're changing the meaning you assign to the potential mistake.
I like that emphasis on action. Because action really is the best antidote to anxiety, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Fear loves hesitation. It grows in the space where you're thinking about doing something but not actually doing it. The moment you take the physical step of speaking, even if your voice shakes a bit at first, the fear starts to lose its power. Your brain gets the message, okay, this threat, maybe it's not actually dangerous.
That action breaks the cycle.
Okay.
So that helps with the mental block. But what about the physical reaction? The racing heart, the shaky hands. How do we train our bodies for calmness? This brings us to the second technique, confidence conditioning.
Right. This one targets that amygdala reset more directly, focusing on the physical side. It's about creating a pre-conversation ritual.
A ritual, like what?
It's simple, really. Before you start that English conversation, consciously take, say, 3 slow, deep breaths. Really focus on the breath. And then, this sounds odd, but it works. Force yourself to smile slightly.
Smile, even if you feel terrified inside.
Especially then. The physical act of smiling, even a forced one, actually sends signals back to your brain that things might be okay, that the situation is safe. It can help reduce stress hormones like cortisol.
Okay, deep breath, slight smile. But I can hear listeners thinking, I've tried deep breaths and I still froze up 2 minutes into the meeting. How do you make this conditioning actually stick, especially under pressure?
That's a fair point. The key the sources point to is consistency and anchoring. You can't just do it once. You need to consistently pair that physical action, the breath, the smile, with a specific mental statement.
Okay. So what kind of statement?
Something simple and reassuring. As you breathe in, you might mentally say, I am safe. As you breathe out, I am just communicating. Or even just, it's okay. The point is repetition.
So you're consciously telling your brain over and over, this isn't a test. This is just talking.
Exactly. You do this consistently over time, maybe for a few weeks every time before you speak English.
Yeah.
You're literally trying to build new neural pathways, associating speaking English with the feeling of calm rather than panic.
That shifts the whole frame from performance anxiety to just exchanging information. That feels like a huge weight lifted already.
Yeah.
Now, practice is obviously key, but you don't have to jump into a massive debate right away, do you?
Absolutely not. The sources strongly advise starting small. Incredibly small, even.
Like how small?
Practice really simple, low-stakes exchanges. Chat with the cashier at the store, ask a neighbor a quick question about the weather, or honestly, use the most patient audience member you have. Yourself.
Yourself. How?
Use your phone's voice recorder. Ask yourself simple questions and answer them out loud in English. What are my top 3 goals for today? Or, what was the most interesting thing I read online this week? Just talk for a minute or 2.
And then you can listen back later without the pressure of someone listening live. That lets you focus purely on
progress, not perfection. That's the mantra. When you listen back and notice, hey, I used that new phrase correctly, or my rhythm sounded a bit more natural there, that little win builds real intrinsic confidence. And that positive feedback loop fuels more practice, more speaking.
We also have to talk about one of the biggest confidence killers out there, comparing yourself to others. Looking at someone who seems to speak English so effortlessly and feeling discouraged.
Oh, comparison is such a trap. It's completely counterproductive. Everyone's learning journey is different. Some people might have started learning as kids, others maybe just last year. Different backgrounds, different opportunities for practice.
So comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10 is just setting yourself up for misery.
Exactly. It only creates stress. And what did we establish about stress?
It shuts down fluency, kills it.
Right. The only comparison that has any value at all is comparing yourself today to yourself yesterday or last week or last month. Are you making incremental progress? That's all that matters. Focus on your path.
I really like this next idea from the sources, changing how we even talk about errors. Instead of calling them mistakes, they suggest calling them experiments.
Yes. This is more than just words. It's a fundamental identity shift. Think about it. A mistake implies you did something wrong, something worthy of judgment. Failure. But an experiment, that implies curiosity, exploration, data collection. Experiments aren't about pass or fail. They're about gathering information. They can't really fail. They just produce results, feedback.
So if I use the wrong word, instead of thinking, ugh, I failed at vocabulary, I should think.
You could think, interesting data point, my brain needs a bit more practice distinguishing word X from word Y, or, okay, that sentence structure didn't quite land. What can I learn from that experiment for next time?
It takes the emotional sting out of it, changes it from personal failure to objective observation.
Exactly. You become like a scientist studying your own language acquisition. When you adopt that experiment mindset, the whole learning process becomes less scary and, frankly, more fun.
Okay, let's tackle one more big emotional hurdle. The embarrassment some people feel about their accent, that fear of sounding foreign.
This is huge, and we need to be really clear here. Your accent is not a measure of your fluency or intelligence. It's part of your identity.
Your identity.
Yes. It tells the story of where you come from, your background, your journey in learning another language. It's proof of your effort, your bilingualism. It's not a weakness to be hidden.
So striving for some kind of perfect, neutralized native accent might actually be counterproductive.
Often, yes. For most adult learners, achieving a truly native accent is incredibly difficult, if not impossible. Aiming for it can lead to constant self-criticism and disappointment.
The real goal is clear communication and confidence, right? Not imitation.
100%. A clear, confident speaker with a non-native accent is far more effective, far more engaging than someone trying so hard to mimic a native accent that they sound hesitant and unnatural.
That's a powerful point. A confident non-native accent is better than a nervous native one in terms of communication.
Absolutely. Embrace your unique English voice. Once you stop measuring yourself against an impossible standard of sounding native, a lot of that hesitation just melts away.
Okay, we've covered the psychology, the mindset shifts, the techniques. Now it's time for action. We have a final challenge for you, the listener. Something concrete to put all this into practice. We're calling it the practice challenge. Speak without editing.
Yes, this is crucial. Here's the task. Set a timer for 1 minute. Just 1 minute to start.
Okay.
And for that entire minute, you need to speak English out loud about anything your day, a movie you saw, anything, without stopping to correct yourself. No editing allowed.
So if you say the wrong word
It's
or mess up a verb tense,
keep going, move on immediately. Don't pause, don't fix it, don't apologize internally. Just focus purely on maintaining the flow, the momentum of communication.
just raw output, no internal critic allowed for that minute.
Exactly. The purpose here is really profound. It trains your brain to separate the act of communicating from the act of analyzing or learning. When you're in speaking mode, your only job is to get the message across. The analysis, the correction, that comes later, maybe when you listen back to a recording or reflect afterwards.
Don't interrupt the flow when the goal is fluency.
That separation is key to building real, functional speaking ability.
So wrapping this all up, what's the biggest takeaway for you listening right now? If you remember one thing from this deep dive, what should it be?
I think it has to be this. Mistakes are not the enemy. They aren't proof you're failing.
They're proof you're trying, proof you're growing.
Exactly. They are necessary steps on the path. Every time you open your mouth and speak, even imperfectly, you are actively getting closer to fluency.
So the next time that little voice of fear pipes up, that amygdala starts flashing warning signs saying, wait, what if you make a mistake?
You now have the tools. You can flip that fear. Take that deep breath, smile, and tell that voice, so what if I make a mistake? I'm not failing. I'm experimenting. I'm collecting data.
The journey to speaking naturally isn't about avoiding errors. It's about embracing them, one imperfect sentence at a time.
And maybe the final thought to leave you with is the ultimate truth about confidence. It doesn't arrive before you start speaking. It arrives because you start speaking. The only way to truly stop hesitating is to take that leap. Start talking right now, today, in your own unique, authentic, and perfectly imperfect English voice.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at your sources on achieving real, natural English fluency.
Yeah.
And it seems like the core idea isn't just about, vocabulary lists or grammar rules.
No, not at all.
The sources really dig into something more fundamental. They argue fluency actually starts in your head, in the way you think.
That's exactly it. That's the core insert here. If you're learning English, you probably feel this sometimes. You understand the grammar maybe quite well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you try to speak, there's that pause, that hesitation.
Right, the frustrating pause.
Yeah. And what the research materials really highlight is that this pause, it's usually not about not knowing the words. It's a process problem.
A process problem. How so?
Well, you're likely translating everything internally, first from your native language.
Okay.
So you think the idea, then you kind of search for the English words, then you mentally check the grammar,
Okay.
and then you finally speak. And that whole chain reaction, that's what kills the flow. It causes the hesitation.
That makes sense. That internal back and forth. It costs precious seconds in a real conversation.
Exactly. Seconds you don't always have.
So our mission in this deep dive is to pull out the techniques from these sources.
Yeah.
The practical steps you can use to basically skip that translation step altogether.
Yeah, to get the words flowing automatically.
Straight from the thought to speaking. Kind of like how you do it in your native language, right?
Yeah.
Without thinking about it.
Precisely. Let's really break down how inefficient that translation habit is.
Okay.
Take a simple sentence, like, I'm going to the market. If you're translating, your brain goes through like 4 steps.
4. Okay.
Yeah. First, the basic idea pops into your head, probably in your native language.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you translate that concept into English words, market, going, I am.
Right.
Third, you pause. You check the grammar. Is it go, going, am going, tense, agreement, all that stuff.
That little internal editor.
That's the one. And fourth, finally, you actually say the sentence out loud. I'm going to the market.
And by that point, yeah, the conversation might have moved on. Or you just missed your chance. That delay is huge.
It really is. It creates this gap between what you know and what you can actually say smoothly.
So what's the alternative then? Thinking directly.
Exactly. When you train yourself to think directly in English, your brain just skips those translation and editing steps.
Skips them entirely.
Well, mostly. The thought, the feeling, the intention arises. And the English words just come out almost instantly.
Okay, that's the goal, that instant connection. Like you said, native speakers aren't constantly running grammar checks.
Nope. It's automaticity, it's pattern recognition, it's almost a feeling, and the sources give us a roadmap to build that pathway.
All right, so let's get into those foundational techniques. Building that English thinking loop. Where do we start? What's step 1?
Step 1, according to the materials, is actually quite simple. Start with simple English thoughts. It's called self-talk practice.
Self-talk. Okay, like talking to yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. But internally, you narrate your basic everyday actions silently, but in English.
Okay, so give me an example.
Like when you wake up, instead of the thought in your native language that means I got up, you consciously think I woke up.
Just like that.
Just like that. Or, I'm brushing my teeth. I need coffee. I'm going out now. Really simple stuff.
The key seems to be the simplicity then. You're not aiming for complex sentences.
Not at all. Not at this stage. The goal isn't perfect grammar. It's about making your brain comfortable using English for those basic internal thoughts, making it the default.
Building comfort and habit. I like that.
And that comfort naturally leads into the next technique, building a kind of mini dictionary in your mind.
A mini dictionary, like memorizing words?
Not single words, actually. Short, ready-made sentences for common, everyday situations or feelings.
Okay, like what?
Think about the things you express all the time. How you feel, I'm hungry, I feel tired, what you need, I need water. Plans, let's go outside. Observations, it's too hot today.
So you're preloading common phrases, like mental templates.
Exactly. It's intelligent preparation. Instead of building the sentence from scratch every single time you feel hungry.
You just pull out, I'm hungry, instantly.
Right. It trains your brain to recall the whole sentence structure automatically.
But is there a risk there? Could you end up sounding a bit robotic if you only use these set phrases?
That's a fair question. The sources see these as like training wheels.
Okay.
Once you internalize these basic structures, I am adjective, let's verb, you start swapping words in and out naturally. The core benefit is bypassing that initial translation hurdle when the feeling strikes. It shortens the path to speaking.
Got it. Training wheels to build the core structure. Makes sense.
So if self-talk is internal, the next step takes it external. Technique 3, label everything around you.
Okay, this sounds very active.
It is. Right now, wherever you are, you look at objects and you name them in English instantly.
So I see my desk, I just think desk.
Yep.
Desk, phone, glass, and then maybe add a simple descriptor. Big desk, black phone, cold water bottle,
Why is that so effective?
Because it forces a direct link. It connects the English word straight to the physical thing, not to the word for it in your native language.
Yeah, cutting out the middleman.
Precisely. You see the object, you think the English word. That's a huge mental shift.
Okay. And what happens when your brain inevitably slips back into your native language for a thought?
That's where the next technique comes in. Thought replacements. This one requires a bit of mental discipline.
Okay, I'm ready.
You basically catch yourself. When you notice you've just had a thought in your native language, say about the weather, it's hot today in your language.
Yeah.
You pause, you acknowledge it, and then you immediately restate that exact same thought, but in English. It's really hot today.
So you actively intercept and rephrase internally.
You consciously reframe it in English. I actually tried this just the other day. I was thinking about my grocery list in Spanish, caught myself, and forced myself to think it through in English. It felt clunky at first.
It often does. Your brain resists the change initially.
Yeah, but after a few seconds, the English version started forming. It really does feel like training a muscle.
That's a perfect analogy. The sources emphasize consistency here. It might feel slow, even awkward for a week or two, but you keep doing it, and eventually, English becomes the brain's preferred path, the path of least resistance for thinking.
Okay, muscle training for the brain. Got it.
All right, let's shift gears slightly now, moving into more active immersion strategies, using this foundation. Step 5 is all about describing what's happening around you, what you see, hear, or feel.
So taking that labeling idea and making it more dynamic.
Exactly, more observational. If you're sitting in a cafe, for example, your internal or even quiet external thoughts could be the coffee smells nice, that waiter looks busy, the music is pretty soft.
You're actively connecting English to your real-time experience.
Yes, and these aren't complex thoughts. They're small, frequent observations. But doing this constantly builds that fluency muscle much faster than, say, sitting down for an hour of intense grammar study once a week. It's about volume and consistency.
Right, keeping the English part of your brain switched on.
Which leads nicely to step 6, watch and mimic. This is a powerful one for speed.
Okay, watching movies and shows.
Yes, but the key point in the sources is try it without subtitles in your native language. Maybe English subtitles if you need them, but ideally none.
Why no subtitles?
It forces your brain to process the sounds and the rhythm directly. You don't just watch, you mimic. Repeat phrases, copy the intonation, the expression.
So it's not just about understanding the words, but the sound and flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This helps massively with something called chunking.
Chunking?
Yeah, it's about training your brain to stop processing English word by painstaking word.
Okay.
Instead, you start hearing and thinking in common phrases or chunks of language.
I think I get it. Instead of hearing, what are you doing, and translating each word.
Right.
Your brain just recognizes the whole chunk, what are you doing, as one single unit of meaning.
That's precisely it. It treats that whole phrase like one piece of data. It makes your understanding and your ability to respond much, much faster, instantaneous almost.
That's a huge efficiency gain.
Okay. And once you start developing that chunking ability, you're ready for step 7. Speak without translating.
This sounds like the big one, where practice meets action.
It is. This is where you consciously try to speak maybe to a friend, a language partner, even just recording yourself on your phone with one firm rule. 0 internal translation allowed.
0. That sounds tough.
It can be at first, but the goal isn't complexity. A practical tip from the sources is to record a simple summary of your day.
Okay, like what?
Like, okay, I woke up late today, I felt tired, then I made coffee, it was pretty good. Basic stuff.
And the point isn't the vocabulary, it's the process.
Exactly. Focus entirely on letting the thoughts flow directly into English words, however simple. Train your brain to skip the translation step completely during output. Fluency, keeping the conversation moving, is the priority here.
Flow over perfection.
Got it. Then there's step 8, which is more about your environment. Surround yourself with English.
Creating an immersion bubble.
Basically, yes. Change your phone's language to English. Read signs, menus, ads in English when you're out. Switch your music playlist, your podcasts. Make English the default input as much as possible.
So it's just constant exposure.
Constant passive exposure is crucial. It's similar to how kids learn languages, right? They're just swimming in it.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
You kind of need to create that environment for yourself. That constant input helps your brain finally accept English as a primary operating system.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about discipline? Getting to more advanced fluency.
Right. This brings us to some crucial mental habits. Step 9 can be really hard for learners who strive for accuracy. Stop overcorrecting yourself.
Ooh, yeah. That instinct to pause mid-sentence and fix a mistake.
That's the killer instinct for fluency. Many learners will stop dead because they're not sure if they used the right preposition or if their pronunciation was perfect.
But that breaks the flow completely.
Totally destroys it.
Yeah.
You break the exact thinking process you're trying to build. The advice is clear. Let the idea flow out. If you made a mistake, maybe you said good instead of went. Make a mental note, maybe. Look it up later. But during the conversation, keep talking. Do not stop to edit. The flow is more important than that single error.
That requires letting go of perfectionism a bit.
A lot, sometimes. Fluency demands prioritizing communication over constant correction.
Okay. Tough but necessary. What's next?
Step 10 is about creating a dedicated space for this. The English zone practice.
An English zone.
Yeah. The sources strongly recommend setting aside, say, 10 or 15 minutes every single day, a specific time that is English only.
Only English. What does that mean?
Thinking in English, speaking out loud if possible, maybe even writing. Absolutely no translation allowed in that zone. No slipping back into your native language, even in your head.
So it's like focus practice for the brain.
Exactly. It conditions your brain to switch into English mode on command. You could do it while, I don't know, cooking dinner or walking the dog.
Right, narrating again. Okay, what am I doing now? I'm chopping onions. Need the pan next.
Perfect. That kind of mini immersion done consistently really strengthens the pathways.
Okay, that seems manageable. 10, 15 minutes.
And finally, there's a bonus tip. This one's geared more towards advanced learners, aiming for that truly native-like speed.
Ooh, bonus tip. Let's hear it.
Think in pictures, not words.
Pictures, not words. How does that work?
It's about decoupling the English word entirely from its translation in your native language. Instead, you connect it directly to the concept or the image.
Okay, so if I hear the word apple.
You shouldn't mentally see the word apple translated into, say, manzana or pomme. You should instantly visualize the actual fruit. Red, round, crunchy.
Bypassing the language layer altogether. Connecting directly to the meaning, the image, the sensation.
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? When you achieve that, when English words trigger images or feelings directly, without any linguistic translation filter, that's when your brain is truly operating at native speed.
Wow, that visual association.
It's how we naturally process thoughts, really, applying that consciously to language learning. It's a powerful accelerator for fluency.
Okay, that's a lot of ground we've covered.
Yeah, but if you boil it all down, the central message from these sources is pretty clear. Fluency isn't really about memorizing grammar tables like some complex academic subject.
It's more practical.
It's about changing how you think, rewiring your brain's default patterns, building a new habit step by step. It's about focusing on the flow, not chasing perfection from day one.
So for you listening, the action points are right there and they're accessible. You can start small, literally today.
Absolutely.
Narrate your walk to the kitchen in simple English. Label the things you see on your desk right now. Catch yourself thinking in your native language and just gently rephrase it in English.
Those small, consistent actions build the foundation.
Let English start becoming your default language for those little internal moments. That seems to be the key takeaway.
It really is. It's a habit built over time.
So here's a final thought to mull over, building on that idea of habit. If the goal is to make English thinking automatic, deeply ingrained, think about this. What's one routine, absolutely non-negotiable task you do every single day? Maybe it's making your morning coffee or your commute or taking a shower. Could you permanently assign that specific time starting right now as your dedicated English-only zone? Just something to consider. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into something, well, I think almost every language learner has felt. That moment in a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You know the words, you think you've got the grammar down, but when you go to actually speak, to respond, you just freeze. You hesitate. And that pause, it's just long enough,
Yeah.
The conversation moves on without you. Window missed.
It's so frustrating. And look, if you're listening to this, we really want you to get this one thing right from the start. That pause, that hesitation, it is not a sign that you're bad at English. It's not about your vocabulary size, really. Our sources are pretty clear on this.
Yeah.
It's more of a mechanical problem, like a system delay. Your mind and your mouth, they're just not quite in sync yet.
That's a huge way to reframe it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when we speak our native language, whatever it is, Spanish, Hindi, Arabic, Urdu,
Sure.
the words just come out. It feels automatic, instantaneous. But then you switch to English, and suddenly there's this friction. It can feel almost painful.
Precisely. You're asking your brain to do this extra background task. And honestly, it just eats up all the available processing power. We've been calling this mental drag, this sort of active, conscious conversion thing, the translation tax.
Translation tax, I like that.
Yeah, and this tax, it's basically the difference between having that automatic fluency, that flow, and having to construct every single sentence piece by piece.
Okay, let's really unpack that, the translation tax.
Yeah.
Because I think it explains exactly why that freeze, that hesitation actually happens. The sources we looked at, they detail this like 5-step loop the brain gets stuck in.
Oh, it's a real workout for the brain. It really is. So it starts when someone asks you something, right? Step 1, you hear and understand the question in English. Okay, so far.
Okay.
Step 2, your brain often does a quick translation of that question into your native language. It's sort of a confirmation, like, did I get that right?
Oh, okay, a safety check.
Exactly. Step 3, then you think up your answer. Often a really detailed, perfect answer, but in your native language.
Right, because that's where you feel most comfortable and precise.
Precisely. Step 4, now you have to translate that perfect native answer back into English. And you're probably checking the grammar, finding the right words.
Which takes time.
A lot of time. And then finally, step 5, you actually manage to say the words out loud.
And like you said earlier, by the time you hit step 5, the conversation is probably 3 topics down the road. You're basically talking to yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's moved on, discussing, I don't know, the weather or something.
But hang on. The assumption is often that we need that translation loop, right?
Yeah.
Especially for accuracy. What if I'm in, say, a really important meeting? Or I'm an engineer and I need absolute technical precision? Isn't some translation necessary then, just to make sure I'm saying exactly the right thing?
That's a really good practical question. And what's fascinating is that the sources kind of agree, but with a twist. High-speed, flowing conversation and that kind of deliberate, technically precise speech, they seem to use slightly different brain systems.
Huh.
Yeah. Understanding English, that's passive reception. Speaking English, that's active production. They're separate skills. And if flow is your main goal in that moment, you have to be willing to let go of the immediate hunt for perfect translation. Speaking fluently relies more on automatic recall, not conscious building.
So you're saying sacrifice that instant, maybe perfect precision for eventual conversational speed. That feels a bit counterintuitive.
It does initially, but think of it like learning to drive a stick shift, a manual car.
Okay.
At first, you're consciously thinking through every single step. Okay, clutch in, shift to second, ease off the clutch, a little bit of gas.
Right.
Every action is calculated. It's slow, it's jerky.
Totally. Very stressful.
Yeah. But after a few weeks, maybe months, your hands and feet just do it. You're not thinking about the steps anymore. It's become automatic.
That's fluency right there, isn't it? When that mental checklist just vanishes and it becomes like muscle memory.
Exactly. So if you want to speak English without paying that heavy translation tax every single time, you have to train your brain to skip the translation step, to start thinking and recalling English sound patterns automatically.
Okay, so that's the mechanical side, the translation tax.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the other huge piece, which you mentioned earlier, the emotional block.
Yeah.
This can be even more paralyzing than not knowing a word. It's that fear.
Oh, absolutely. The fear of judgment, the fear of making a mistake, sounding silly, maybe someone laughing.
Yeah.
That emotional hurdle, it can slam the brakes on a conversation completely. You could know all the grammar rules, have a great vocabulary stored up, but if that fear, that kind of perfection block kicks in, your voice just freezes. Doesn't matter how much English you technically know.
I was nodding along so much when I read that case study, the one about the student. She could write these amazing English essays like flawless structure, great words.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But the second she was in a meeting, needing to speak, her voice would apparently shape. She'd pause constantly, just totally paralyzed by the fear of messing up. It's actually kind of comforting to know that's a common
But
thing.
it really is. It's that classic overthinker experience. And notice the solution for her, it wasn't more grammar exercises.
Right?
No, the coaching advice was simple. Start with short, easy sentences. And the main instruction was just, don't try to be perfect, just speak. Let it out.
And what was the result?
Within 2 weeks, apparently, she was speaking much more freely in those meetings, confidently even. Mistakes and all, you know. The key was just giving herself permission not to be flawless. That was the breakthrough.
That really hits home. That's the big mistake so many learners make, right? Overthinking every single word before it comes out. I've done it myself. Spent ages mentally debating, like, should I use fewer or less here?
Yeah.
By the time I decide, who cares? The moment's gone.
Exactly. We need to learn to just let the thoughts flow, get the words out, even if they're not perfect. Make the mistake. Then, maybe later, think about correcting it, but not in the middle of the flow.
Yeah, you got to keep the momentum.
Absolutely. Fluency isn't really about speed, is it? It's about flow. Think about native speakers. We make small grammar slip-ups all the time. Little mistakes.
Yeah.
But we don't stop the whole conversation dead to fix them usually. We just power through.
Yeah.
Keep the connection going. Learners need to adopt that mindset. Forward motion. Always forward motion.
Okay, so if the goal is ditching the translation tax and finding that flow, how do we actually practice? We need to train the brain to think directly in English, right?
Yeah.
You said fluency lives in the mouth, not just in the notebook.
That's it exactly. It's physical. So let's talk about 3 specific techniques to build that automatic recall muscle. The first one is designed to break that translation habit fast.
Okay, technique 1, a quick fire self-training thing.
Yeah. So think of a simple question, something immediate, like, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Okay, got one.
Now, here's the challenge for you listening right now. Don't translate the answer in your head. Don't plan it out. Just say it out loud, instantly, in English.
So no searching for the perfect word or the most complex sentence structure. If the answer that pops out is, like, I eat egg toast, that's okay.
That's more than, okay, that's a win. The only goal here is speed, that immediate thought-to-speech link. Every time you produce an instant response like that, you're weakening that old hesitation habit.
Got it. Instant response practice. What's technique 2?
Technique 2 focuses on training your mouth and your sense of rhythm at the same time. It's called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, I've heard of this. How does it work exactly?
So you listen to a short clip of a native speaker, maybe just 2 or 3 sentences, then you pause it for like half a second, just a beat.
Okay.
And then you repeat exactly what they said, not just the words, but try to mimic the tone, the rhythm, the intonation, the ups and downs.
So you're kind of like their shadow, vocally?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And doing this, even just for, say, 10 minutes a day, it trains multiple things at once. Your mouth gets used to forming the sounds, your memory gets better at holding chunks of language, and you start to internalize the natural rhythm and flow of English. You start to feel it rather than just translate it.
And that ties into confidence too, right?
Yeah.
I notice hesitation often vanishes when people talk about stuff they really know well. Their hobbies, their job, their city.
Absolutely. That's a key insight. When you talk about topics you own, things you're passionate or knowledgeable about, your confidence just naturally goes up.
Right.
So a good tip is to start practicing these fluency techniques on personal, familiar topics first. Your brain doesn't have to struggle finding the basic words, so you can focus on the flow.
That makes sense. Use familiar ground to build a new skill. Now, you mentioned something we need to avoid, a common mistake.
Yes. Big mistake. Memorizing hundreds of perfect sentences from a list or a notebook, writing them down meticulously, and then expecting that to magically translate into fluent speech.
Ah, the notebook trap. You think if you just know enough sentences, you'll be fluent.
Exactly. But if you don't actually say those sentences out loud repeatedly with feeling, your brain doesn't store them as speech patterns. It stores them as text. You need to speak with emotion, connect ideas naturally, let it flow, so your brain banks it as spoken language.
That emphasis on speaking it, feeling it, connects nicely to the third technique,
Right.
which sounds like it tackles that emotional block head on. Mirror practice.
Yes, mirror practice. It sounds simple, maybe even a little awkward at first, but it's incredibly effective for building that mental toughness.
So what do you do?
You stand in front of a mirror, look yourself directly in the eye, and just speak English for, say, 1 minute. No script, no notes, just talk.
Okay, why the mirror? Why add that layer of self-consciousness? This
Yeah.
seems intense.
Because speaking isn't just about words and grammar, it's physical. It involves your expression, your eye contact, your body language, your tone of voice.
Right, all the nonverbal stuff.
Yeah. And when you practice in the mirror, you're forced to confront and manage all those things while you're producing English. You see yourself speaking the language. It builds real, grounded confidence because you're literally facing yourself, accepting yourself, flaws and all, while you do it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. You're practicing the whole communication package.
Exactly.
So let's quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. That awful hesitation, that freeze, it's mostly down to that slow internal translation tax, not necessarily because your English skills are weak.
Right. It's a connection speed issue.
And the goal shouldn't be perfect grammar right out of the gate. It should be flow. Keep the conversation moving.
Mm-hmm. Aim for flow over flawlessness.
And we build that flow actively, using things like that instant response exercise to break the translation habit.
Yep.
Using shadowing to get the rhythm and mouth muscles working together.
Crucial for rhythm.
And using mirror practice to build that real-world confidence and manage the full communication act.
Absolutely. Start weaving those into your practice, even just a little bit each day. You'll likely start noticing that learning to speak fluently feels less about cramming vocabulary and more about, well, liberating the voice you already have.
We talked about how speaking is tied so much to emotion and connection, not just technical skill. So here's a final thought for you to maybe chew on, especially after you try that mirror practice technique.
Okay.
What happens when you start to really notice in the mirror, that your voice sounds confident, that it's flowing, even if you know you just made a small grammar mistake. Pay attention to how your posture changes, maybe your expression, when you stop chasing that impossible perfect speaker image and just let the sound flow. That shift towards maybe self-acceptance, that might just be the most powerful part of unlocking real fluency. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Okay, so if you're learning English, you've probably put in, well, countless hours on grammar, vocabulary, maybe even lost sleep over verb tenses.
Oh, definitely.
But today, we're kind of skipping past the usual textbook stuff.
Yeah.
Our mission is a real deep dive, an actionable one, into what feels like the final step for fluency.
Yeah.
Pronunciation and accent clarity.
Yeah, and this is where so many people get hung up thinking it's all about sounding, native.
Exactly. Which is why we need to start right there, tackling that huge myth, this idea you have to sound perfectly British or American to be fluent.
It's just not the goal, honestly. The real target. Clear pronunciation, confidence, making sure people understand you easily the first time. That's it.
Absolutely. And we've all felt that moment, haven't we? You say something grammatically perfect, you think, and the other person just gives that polite little head tilt. Sorry, what was that? It feels awful.
It does. But here's the thing. It almost never means your English itself is bad. Not your words, not your grammar.
So what is it then?
It's usually the wrong word or just a couple of sounds causing friction.
Okay.
And that's what this deep dive is really about. Fluency means connection, right? Not some kind of impossible perfection. We want to smooth out that friction so you connect.
Got it. So let's start with the mindset piece. Step one you mentioned. Focus on clarity, not accent. Challenging that whole imitation idea.
We really need to just think about it globally for a second. You've got millions of people speaking English fluently.
All over the world.
Right. India, Pakistan, France, Japan, Germany, everywhere. They have their own distinct accents and they operate at the highest levels. Business, science.
And they're perfectly understood.
Exactly. The idea that you need to somehow erase your background to speak English well, it's just false and kind of damaging, actually.
Okay, so if erasing the accent isn't the point, what is? Is it just about hitting every single sound perfectly, like robotically?
Well, hitting sounds clearly is part of it, sure. But the bigger idea is what we call accent clarity.
Accent clarity, okay.
It means making sure the words you choose and how you say them leads to the least amount of confusion possible. And, psychologically, people remember your confidence much more than the exact way you pronounce a vowel.
That's a great point.
When you stop stressing about sounding native, you naturally relax, you sound more confident. It's a positive loop.
I like that. Okay, so once you make that mental shift, clarity is king, you move to step two. Learn the music of English. This sounds interesting.
It is. And it's where a lot of learners get tripped up because they approach spoken English like it's just words written down.
Right, flat text.
Yeah, but English isn't just a string of words. It's famously a stress-timed language. This is so important.
Unlike languages like Spanish or French, maybe, which are more syllable-timed.
Exactly right. In many languages, each syllable gets roughly the same beat, the same emphasis, nice and even.
But English just doesn't work that way, does it?
Not at all. In English, we kind of rush through some words and really stretch out others. It's all about stress, rhythm, melody. If you say every single word with equal weight.
Even if the sounds are technically right.
It still sounds a bit unnatural, maybe a little robotic, as people sometimes say.
Okay, give us that classic example. How does the music change things?
Sure. Take a simple sentence. I want to go to the market. If I say it totally flat, I want to go to the market. It sounds, well, like that.
A bit clunky.
Right. But with natural English rhythm, we stress the important words, the verbs, nouns, main ideas. So it becomes, I want to go to the market. See how to and the are quick, almost swallowed.
Yeah, they get compressed. While want, go, and market really pop out.
Exactly. They carry the meaning, so they get the stress, and you sound much more alive, more natural.
That's fascinating. So it's not about pronouncing every single tiny word perfectly slowly. It's about nailing that rhythm and making sure the key words land clearly.
You got it. The advice to practice it like singing a song, it's actually really effective. You feel the beat.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears into the technical side. Common physical habits that cause issues. Which brings us to step 3. Slow down to sound natural.
Ah, yes. And this one feels completely backward to a lot of learners, doesn't it?
It really does. People think faster equals more fluent.
They do. So they rush, they stumble over words, and honestly, they just end up sounding more nervous and less clear.
Yeah, I've heard that. Trying too hard.
We see it constantly. Someone tries to show how good they are by rattling off a sentence super fast, but the listener just misses half of it because it wasn't clear.
So true fluency isn't about sounding like an auctioneer then?
No, it's about control. It's about comfort. When you consciously slow down just a bit, 2 amazing things happen.
Great.
1, your articulation gets better automatically because your mouth actually has time to form the sounds correctly. And 2, your confidence goes up because you feel like you're in charge of the words, not like you're chasing them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's a little exercise suggested, right? Take a sentence like, I'm learning to speak English confidently. And just say it out loud, focusing purely on clear sounds, not speed.
Try it. You immediately sound more grounded, more deliberate, more authoritative even.
Yeah, you can hear the difference.
And think about it, even native speakers pause. They breathe. They use rhythm when they're explaining something important. Clarity beats speed every single time.
Okay. And that slower, more controlled pace must really help with step 4, which you mentioned is vital, especially professionally. Learn word stress.
Oh, absolutely crucial. We talked about stress across a sentence, but within a single word. Where you put the emphasis can change the meaning completely.
Right. This is where grammar actually shifts based on sound. The example was the word record.
Perfect example. Walk us through it again because it's such a clear illustration.
Okay, so if you stress the first syllable, record, that's the noun, right? Like a vinyl record or keeping a record of something. I bought a new record.
Exactly. The thing.
But then shift that stress. Record. Second syllable.
Now it's the verb. The action. I need to record this conversation. Same spelling, totally different function.
Wow. And that pattern happens a lot in English.
It's incredibly common. Think about present. Present the gift. Present the verb to give it. Or object. Object the thing. Object the verb to disagree.
Okay, so mastering word stress isn't just about sounding nice. It's literally about being understood correctly.
Precisely. It avoids that, wait, did you mean the noun or the verb? Confusion. Best advice. Use online dictionaries that have audio. Listen, repeat, listen again until that pattern feels natural.
Good tip. All right, let's move into the really practical physical stuff.
Yeah.
Section 3. Step 5 is about tackling those notoriously difficult sounds.
Yep. The ones that maybe just don't exist in your first language, these can be real roadblocks.
We're talking THVR, the usual suspect.
Those are the big 3, generally. Yeah. People sometimes try to avoid words with them, but you can't really do that long-term in English. The good news, it's purely physical. It's muscle memory you can build.
Okay, let's get practical. 3 specific techniques mentioned. First, that infamous think sound like in think or this.
Right. The problem is learners often swap it for an es sound, think for think, or maybe a t or ed sound.
So how do you actually make it?
For both versions, the soft, airy one in think and the buzzy one in the mechanics are the same. You got to put the tip of your tongue lightly between your front teeth, just barely sticking it.
Okay.
And then blow air. For think, just air. For the add voice, make it vibrate a little. It should feel a bit tingly or ticklish on your tongue.
Practice words like think, thank, 3, that, the.
Exactly. Slowly at first. It feels weird if you're not used to it, I know. But that tongue position is non-negotiable for a clear thif.
Okay. What about the V sound? As in very. People might mix it up with W or B.
Yeah, sometimes. For V, like in very or voice or every, the key is top teeth gently touching the bottom lip.
Gently touching.
And then you push air through, creating a little vibration there. V, 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 V. It's different from B, boy, where your lips press together, or W, Y, where your lips are rounded. Feel that buzz on your lip.
V, V. Yeah, I feel it.
Practice that. Ver is voice, every.
Got it. And the third one, the English R sound.
Yeah.
Tricky for lots of people, especially if their native language has a rolled R or a different kind of R.
Right. The English R, like in red, right, correct, is different. It's not rolled or tapped. You need to pull your tongue back slightly in your mouth.
Pull it back.
Yeah, sort of curl the middle back part up towards the roof of your mouth, but don't touch it. The sides of the tongue might touch the inside of your top teeth. It's made further back.
Correct. All right. Okay. It feels different.
It does. And the absolute key for all three sounds, T, H, V, R, is slow, deliberate practice. Use a mirror. Watch your mouth make the shape. Do it daily until it becomes automatic. Muscle memory takes repetition.
Great tips. Okay, so once you're working on the physical sounds, step 6 brings in help. Use technology to improve pronunciation. Your phone is your coach.
It really is. This is such a great, low-stress way to check your clarity. Use Siri, use Google Assistant, use the voice input on ChatGPT.
How does that work?
Just say a sentence you're practicing. Maybe one with those tricky sounds. If the assistant writes down exactly what you said, boom, you're clear enough.
And if it writes down gibberish?
Then you know precisely where the confusion happened. You can isolate the word or phrase and try again, maybe slower, focusing on those sounds. It's instant, objective feedback.
Takes the embarrassment out of asking a person again and again.
Totally. And then beyond just the basic check, there are amazing specialized apps. Things like Elsa Speak, Youglish is fantastic for hearing words in context, Speechling.
What do they do differently?
They're designed for this. They often analyze your specific pronunciation, sometimes even showing you waveforms compared to a native speaker, and give targeted feedback on sounds, rhythm, intonation. Really helpful for pinpointing stubborn issues.
Cool. Okay, moving into our final section. Let's talk advanced training for flow. Step 7, the shadowing technique. What is that?
Shadowing is, well, it's powerful. It's basically listening to a short audio clip, maybe 10, 15 seconds of natural speech, like from an interview or a movie. And you try to speak at the exact same time as the speaker. You're mimicking everything, their sounds, their pauses, their rhythm, their intonation, like their shadow.
So not repeating after them, but with them. Like singing along to a song you know really well.
Exactly like that. It feels a bit weird at first. Your brain is doing two things at once, listening and speaking.
I bet. Sounds challenging.
It is initially, but because you're forced to match their speed and, crucially, their rhythm and stress patterns, you start to internalize the natural flow of English incredibly quickly. It bypasses your own native language rhythm habits.
Ah, I see. So it helps develop that music we talked about earlier.
Massively. It really accelerates your confidence in just sounding natural and connected.
Interesting technique. And after shadowing, or maybe alongside it, comes step 8. Record, compare, improve the English workout.
Yes, this is about being systematic. Take a short paragraph from anywhere, a news site, a book you like. First, record yourself reading it aloud, just naturally. Then find an audio recording of a native speaker reading that same text, if possible, or just a similar fluent reading.
And then you compare your version to theirs.
Exactly. But listen critically. Don't just listen for words. Listen for where do they pause? How long are the pauses? Which words do they stress? How do they link words together? How do they pronounce those tricky sounds you're working on?
So it's really analytical listening focused on rhythm and delivery, not just getting the words right.
That's the key difference. And the sources suggest if you do this consistently, record, compare, identify one or two things to adjust, re-record, you can see really noticeable improvements in clarity in just a couple of weeks.
Wow, that's a fast potential payoff for a pretty simple exercise.
It is, because it builds self-awareness like nothing else. You become your own coach.
Love it. Okay, finally, make it all stick. Step 10, make pronunciation a lifestyle. Integrating this stuff daily.
Right, so it doesn't feel like extra homework forever. Just small habits. We've got 3 key ones.
Lay them on us.
First, every single time you learn a new word, don't just read it and memorize the meaning. Listen to its pronunciation immediately. Use an online dictionary, an app, whatever. Pay attention to the word stress especially.
Good one. Number 2.
Read aloud for just 5 minutes every day. Seriously, that's it. Grab a newspaper article, a page from a book, song lyrics, anything. Just practice the physical act of speaking English, linking words, using rhythm builds muscle memory.
Makes sense. And the third habit?
Record yourself maybe once a month, just reading something standard or even just talking for a minute. Keep these recordings. When you listen back to your recording from, say, 3 or 6 months ago,
You'll hear the progress.
you will be amazed. Honestly, it's incredibly motivating to hear how much clearer and more natural you've become.
Yeah.
It proves the small habits work.
Excellent. Now, before we wrap up, we absolutely have to circle back to the core emotional piece, which was step 9. Don't fear your accent, own it.
Yes, please. Your accent tells your story. It's part of who you are. This pressure to sound like you grew up in London or Los Angeles is, well, it's unnecessary and often counterproductive.
It's about being understood, not being someone else.
Exactly. If you focus on clarity, on rhythm, on those key sounds, everything we've talked about today, your unique voice, your personality will come through clearly, and people will understand you.
So fluency, when it comes down to it, it's not about perfect imitation. It's about clear connection.
It's being understood easily, sounding confident, and letting you shine through your English. That's the real goal. Be clear, be confident, be yourself.
Perfectly put.
And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on after we finish. We've seen how these small, consistent habits, listening, shadowing, recording, focusing on rhythm, can build massive confidence in speaking English clearly. So if this systematic, rhythm-focused approach works so well for something as complex as language, how much impact could applying that same kind of deliberate, rhythmic practice have on other complex skills you're trying to master in your life?
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're a learner and you feel like you've maybe hit a bit of a wall, you understand English perfectly when you read or listen, but the moment you try to speak, the right words just seem to vanish, well, then this deep dive is absolutely for you. We are going all in today on vocabulary power, looking at the sources that really detail the undeniable fuel that drives fluency.
Right. And I think we should clarify the goal straight away. The research is pretty clear. For intermediate learners, the problem isn't usually word recognition. It's word recall and usage.
Recalling it when you need it.
Exactly. Fluency isn't about cramming hundreds of random words from some list. No. It's really about making sure the words you already kind of know are instantly available and learning new words in a way that guarantees they actually land comfortably in your everyday speech.
Okay, so our mission for you today, 10 practical steps. These are synthesized straight from the research and data we looked at. They're designed to grow your active, usable vocabulary fast, and crucially, without that feeling of being overwhelmed by just too much information. Think of this as maybe the definitive guide to shortcutting that really frustrating gap between understanding and confidently speaking. Right, let's kick things off with step 1. This tackles something fundamental in your brain, active versus passive vocabulary. For any serious learner, getting this distinction is, well, it's everything, isn't it?
It really is. Generally speaking, your passive vocabulary is huge, massive. It's all the stuff you understand when you read an article or, listen to a native speaker talk. You might know the word magnificent, for instance. But when someone asks you about a great movie you just saw, you might still just say, very good. That word magnificent is filed away somewhere, but the neural pathway to actually speak it, it's weak. It's not ready.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, the challenge isn't just learning more words. It's more about convincing my brain to actually use the ones it already knows. How quickly can this conversion process happen? What do the sources say about that?
Well, the sources really emphasize consistency. It's not about volume. The main goal is just making that passive word feel familiar in your mouth. Neurologically speaking, repetition builds speed. It's that simple. If you only see a new word, the path to speech stays pretty weak. But if you use the word, actually say it, that path strengthens, and surprisingly quickly. The research suggested that repeating a new word in context, like in a short sentence, at least 3 times a day, maybe every day Fluent, that significantly increases the chance of it moving into your active vocabulary queue. You're basically training instant recall.
So, okay, we're not just scribbling amazing in a notebook somewhere. We're actively rehearsing, maybe while waiting for the kettle to boil. That concert was amazing, 3 times.
Precisely. And this idea of immediate activation, it links perfectly to our next point, step 2, which is about how we learn these words, learning them in groups, not just, in isolation.
Oh, I know this mistake. Learners memorize a word list, right?
Yeah.
Happy equals kush or whatever in their language. And they feel like they've learned something. But then in a real conversation, They just freeze up.
That happens all the time. And it's because the brain doesn't store words individually, like in a dictionary. It stores them in networks, semantic networks. If you only learn happy as a direct translation, that neural connection is just thin, weak. But if you learn it within a group, maybe synonyms like joyful, cheerful, delighted.
Okay.
Or within a situation like, I'm happy about that, or you look happy today. Suddenly the word has many more memory hooks. It's easier to grab.
Right. So we should be organizing our new vocabulary maybe by topic, like travel words, passport, itinerary, layover, departure, or perhaps by giving our brain a kind of cluster to pull from instead of one lonely word floating out there.
Exactly that. When your brain is searching for the right word mid-sentence, it searches by concept or context first. Grouping by topic makes sure that when you need one word, all the related vocabulary is kind of warmed up and ready to jump in.
Right. Speaking of flow, let's talk about step 3. This is where I think that real conversational smoothness comes from. Fluent speakers don't just pull out single words. They think and speak in phrases.
Yes, and this brings us to collocations. This is arguably the biggest giveaway, the biggest differentiator between an advanced non-native speaker and a native speaker. Collocations are just natural word combinations. Words that, well, habitually go together. Like if you say, I did a mistake, grammatically, okay, maybe it's fine, but it sounds off, unnatural.
Because the native collocation is, I made a mistake.
Exactly. Made a mistake.
That's a perfect example. I've definitely read research suggesting non-native speakers can lose conversational credibility or just sound hesitant. Not because their grammar is bad, but because they keep using the wrong verb or adjective with certain nouns, like saying fast food when they mean quick meal maybe,
or strong rain instead of heavy rain. That's right. The sources really stress that mastering these collocations is essential. It affects your tone, your register, everything. Think about the common types. Verb plus noun, like take a shower, do homework, get ready. Or adjective plus noun, strong coffee, never powerful coffee. Or, as I said, heavy rain, quick shower.
But hang on, doesn't focusing on these sort of fixed phrases feel a bit restrictive?
Yeah.
Or maybe unnatural at first. You're kind of memorizing chunks instead of building sentences yourself.
You are, absolutely. But that's the secret, you see. That's the trick. The whole purpose of memorizing the chunk, like take a huge risk, is actually to free up your conscious mind. When you need to express that idea, you don't have to stop and translate 3 separate words. The whole phrase just deploys automatically.
Right. Okay, so it cuts down on hesitation.
Dramatically. The sources suggest repeating the full sentence using the collocation, I made a mistake in the presentation. Let's have a quick chat. Repeat it maybe 5 times when you learn it. That builds the muscle memory, and that's what lets the words flow. Now, let's tackle probably the biggest mental roadblock. Step 4, getting rid of that translation thinking. This is the habit that acts like this invisible speed bump in, like every single conversation. You hear English, translate it into your native language, think of a reply in that language, translate that back into English, and then speak. Phew. That cycle just kills fluency.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting just describing it. And it feels like a huge mental leap to break, especially if you learned English through translation in school. What did the sources recommend as maybe the absolute smallest first step, the easiest habit to start breaking that cycle?
They were surprisingly specific and simple. Start with self-talk about your immediate needs and what you see around you. Don't try to narrate your whole life story in English yet. Just start naming objects. This is a lamp, fan, chair. Or state simple needs or feelings. I need water, I'm tired, the tea is hot. This forces that direct link between the thing or concept, the chair, and the English word chair without your native language getting in the way.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But I guess those tiny conscious habits start training the brain to bypass the translation step altogether. And once that direct link is there for basic things, the fluency delay starts to shrink.
Exactly. And to really fuel that new mindset, we need step 5, learning from authentic context. Forget those boring alphabetical vocabulary lists. They just disconnect the word from, well, its life, its emotional and practical use.
Oh, the power of context. You really can't overstate it, can you? When you learn a word from a real conversation or maybe a story, your brain just stores it differently. It remembers the situation, the speaker's tone, the emotion tied to it.
Precisely. If you just see the word exhausted on a list, okay, it's a synonym for tired, fine. But if you hear someone say, maybe in a movie, she was exhausted after a marathon session preparing for the quarterly review, suddenly you tie exhausted to pressure, to real effort, intense fatigue. It becomes unforgettable because it carries that emotional weight.
Right, so the practical application here is key. Watch English stuff, movies, podcasts, interviews. Pause it when you hear a new word, write it down. And then this is important, immediately make 2 or 3 of your own sentences using it. You're sort of taking ownership of the word, integrating it into your own way of speaking.
Okay, so we've got the mindset. Now let's move into the infrastructure for serious growth. Step 6, using modern tools for systematic learning.
Right, this is where we get maybe a bit more technical, but also efficient. Apps like Quizlet, Anki, Memrise, they aren't just fancy digital flashcards, are they? They use spaced repetition, which is like a scientifically proven memory system that basically takes the guesswork out of when to review things.
Yeah, think of spaced repetition as like having a personal memory coach living in your phone. You know how when you learn a new physical skill, like juggling, you need practice at the right times to build muscle memory. Practice too often, you waste time. Wait too long, you forget it all. Spaced repetition algorithms figure out the perfect time to show you a word again right before you're about to forget it. It maximizes how much you remember with the minimum effort. It ensures your effort actually sticks long term.
And for getting the context and the nuance right, we absolutely have to mention Youglish.com. For a learner who really wants to get the subtleties of usage, that tool is gold. You type in any English word and boom, it shows you real YouTube videos where people are using that exact word. You get the accent, the tone, and crucially, the register. Like, is this a formal word or is it casual?
Absolutely invaluable. And beyond specific tools, embrace what we could call smart immersion. Change your phone's operating system language to English. That's an easy one. Start reading the captions and even the comments on English social media posts you follow anyway. The goal is just daily, low-effort exposure. It grows your vocabulary without needing a dedicated, scheduled study block every single time.
Okay, so if the apps handle the scheduling and review super efficiently with technology, that's step 6. What does the good old-fashioned physical notebook offer that the algorithms maybe can't capture? That brings us to step 7, the personal vocabulary journal.
That's a really good question. And the answer really comes down to personalization and deeper processing. The journal, whether it's on paper or a notes app, it forces a deeper kind of cognitive engagement because you're manually structuring the information for yourself. You need to write down, 1, the word itself, say grateful. 2, its meaning, but in simple English, like thankful for something. 3, a sample sentence that you create, maybe I'm grateful for your help. And 4, a synonym or maybe a related phrase like thankful.
So writing it out like that connects the meaning, the usage, and the memory through the physical act.
Yeah.
Or the typing act. You're really customizing the learning. And the sources found a pretty powerful statistic here, didn't they?
They did. Reviewing that journal for just 5 minutes a day, literally just skimming your own notes, can improve your overall recall of those specific words by something like 70%.
70%. Wow.
It's a huge return on a tiny time investment. Really significant.
Okay. And that leads us neatly into step 8, which is about sounding more sophisticated, more expressive, learning smart synonyms, and avoiding sounding repetitive. We want to show variety, right? We all fall into using weak words constantly, like good, bad, very nice.
Exactly. But wait.
But hang on. Doesn't trying to force in fancy synonyms, like maybe using enormous instead of very big all the time, doesn't that risk actually slowing me down or making me sound, I don't know, unnatural? Maybe even a bit pretentious?
That is the crucial caveat, absolutely. Fluency means sounding natural, not like you swallowed a thesaurus. The goal isn't to use obscure words. It's about replacing those weak, common words with slightly stronger, but still common alternatives that fit your style. So instead of very big, maybe use widely understood words like huge, massive, or enormous, if it fits. The source material suggests this kind of upgrade just makes your communication instantly more impactful and expressive without sounding forced.
Okay, so we're aiming for expressive precision, not showing off academic vocabulary. We're swapping very bad for maybe terrible or awful words that add necessary weight and color.
Exactly. Now we've built the foundation, got the tools, understood the mindset. Now for the real payoff. Step 9 is completely non-negotiable. Vocabulary only actually works, only becomes powerful when you use it in real conversations. If it just stays locked up in your notebook or your app, it stays passive. It's wasted potential.
You absolutely have to bring those words to life. And the best strategy the sources mentioned is simple. Talk about your day in English out loud. even just to yourself, and consciously, intentionally try to weave in the new words you've logged in your journal or practiced with your flashcards.
Yeah, try practicing with what you might call high-density sentences. So instead of just saying, I was tired but happy I finished my work, try elevating it a bit. Maybe something like, today was exhausting, but I'm grateful for what I achieved.
Oh.
See, that single shift uses maybe 2 or 3 more advanced active words and moves the whole expression up a level. The rule is simple. Once you use them successfully in speech a few times, they become yours. They become active, permanent parts of your vocabulary toolkit.
Don't keep your hard-earned vocabulary locked away.
Yeah.
Which leads us perfectly to the 10th, and maybe the most powerful secret of all. Step 10, creating English surroundings. Your environment ultimately is what shapes your fluency more than anything else.
Absolutely. If English only exists for you in that scheduled 30-minute study session, you're always going to struggle to make it automatic. You have to make it kind of inescapable, part of your world. This means starting small. We mentioned changing your phone language. Listen to English podcasts on your commute or while walking. Read English newsletters. Follow English-speaking YouTubers or social media accounts. And actually read the captions. Maybe even try commenting or replying sometimes.
All these little consistent interactions, they add up, don't they? They make sure English stops being just a subject. You study something separate from your life, and instead, it starts becoming your second nature, just woven into your daily reality. And that is the point where hesitation really starts to melt away. So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you, the serious learner?
I think it boils down to this. Vocabulary isn't some academic exercise in collecting words. It's a practical toolkit. It's about confident usage. By focusing on conversion, passive to active, on context, on collocations, and just consistent real-world application, you start to eliminate that need to translate in your head. You gain the ability to express your precise thoughts clearly, smoothly, and without that frustrating delay.
Speak it, read it, listen to it, and think in it. That's the cycle, right? That's how fluency grows, little by little, every single day. Real fluency comes from living the language, not just learning about it.
Couldn't agree more. And now, just one final thought for you to maybe mull over, something that connects a few of these ideas. We talked about how technology uses spaced repetition, that was back in step 6, to really boost memory. So consider applying that same concept, that timed recall idea, to your actual physical environment, your real life. Which single physical item that you interact with multiple times every day, maybe it's your coffee machine, your front door, your car keys, which item, if you labeled it permanently in English, would force you to recall and maybe even say that English word actively several times a day? Find that item, label it, and take that first tiny step in actively converting a passive word into an active one, starting today. Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today our mission is really focused. We're tackling something I think almost every high-level language learner runs into, that moment where your brain just freezes.
Such a paradox, isn't it? You could have, amazing grammar, a huge vocabulary, years of study under your belt.
Right.
You ace the tests, write perfectly, but then someone asks, so what'd you do this weekend? And nothing. Complete blank.
Exactly that. You know the words are in there somewhere. But actually speaking, it's like a muscle just seizes up. And that's why we're here. We've looked at the sources and the core issue. It's almost never really about lacking the language knowledge. It's fear of judgment. It's hesitation.
Yeah, fundamentally. And the big truth we pulled out is that fluency really boils down to confidence, maybe even more than pure linguistic skill.
So true.
So for this deep dive, what we've done is synthesize 10 really powerful strategies. Think of it as a shortcut, really. Shifting the focus away from chasing perfection.
Which is exhausting.
Totally. And moving towards just, effective natural communication, building up that solid conversational confidence.
Okay, so here's how we're going to structure this. We'll start with the mental side of things, getting to the root of that fear. Then we'll jump into some really practical, immediate hacks you can use today.
Instant fixes, almost.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, we'll cover the daily habits, the stuff that builds that fluency muscle for the long haul, makes it automatic.
All right, let's dive in, starting with that crucial first step, the mental reset.
Okay, part 1. The mental reset. Before we even touch verbs or pronunciation, we got to talk about the fear. Why is it that, people who are actually really capable learners get so terrified of just opening their mouth?
Well, the research consistently points to that fear of judgment. Simple as that, really. You're worried people will notice your accent or jump in to correct your grammar.
Or just think your English isn't good enough.
Exactly. And it becomes this huge mental block. It's paralyzing.
It absolutely is. And it leads to that thing one source called the wait for perfection trap. Like, I'll speak when I'm perfect.
Never happens.
Right. But here's the reality check, and this honestly should take off. Like, 90% of the pressure, nobody cares nearly as much as you think they do. Seriously.
That's such a key insight. You have to understand what the other person actually wants. A native speaker isn't sitting there with a red pen grading you.
Right.
They just want to understand you. They need the information or they with the connection. English is just the tool for that. If they get your meaning, mission accomplished, they're not analyzing your clause structure.
So the fundamental mental shift, the number one thing you need for fluency, it sounds simple, but it's huge. Stop trying to be perfect. Just start trying to be understood.
That's pretty much the whole game right there.
Yeah. And that mindset lets us tackle the next big confidence killer, obsessing over grammar.
Oh, yeah. This one's massive. Think about how much mental energy it takes to stop yourself mid-sentence.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Because you're internally debating. Like, wait, should that be simple past or present perfect continuous? You just grind to a halt.
It's totally exhausting, and it kills any conversational flow. We treat every casual chat like it's the speaking part of a huge exam.
Exactly right. The sources point out you're treating English like this complex grammar system you have to navigate perfectly instead of just a tool to get your ideas across.
But fluent speakers mess up sometimes too, don't they? Even native speakers.
All the time. But the difference is they don't stop talking. They prioritize keeping the message flowing. Real fluency is focusing on, okay, am I getting my point across?
Yeah.
That momentum, that flow, that's what matters.
Okay, so if the root fear is kind of like your brain accepting this belief, I can't speak well, then the mental reset needs to be active, right? You have to consciously build a different mindset.
Definitely. And the question becomes, how do you actually do that reprogramming? It's not just wishful thinking. The advice points towards using very specific, targeted affirmations. The idea is you need to speak powerfully to yourself first, so you can then speak powerfully to others.
So it's not just vaguely saying, I want to be fluent. It needs to be more like present tense, actionable.
Exactly. Something you can connect to action. Focus on the outcome. Like, start your day, maybe look in the mirror and say, I can speak English clearly and confidently, or even every mistake I make today helps me communicate better.
I like that last one. Takes the pressure off mistakes.
Right. Because your brain starts to accept the premises you feed it. And that positive, capable mindset, that's really where fluency begins, before the words even come out.
Okay, that mental groundwork is absolutely essential. But now, let's get practical. What are the immediate, in-the-moment hacks you can use today when you feel that freeze coming on? This is the conversational toolkit.
Yeah, the emergency kit.
Yeah.
Let's start with one that's almost mechanically effective. It's mentioned across several sources, the 3-second rule.
The 3-second rule.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
The idea is simple. When someone asks you a question in English, you force yourself to start speaking, saying something within 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Why specifically 3? Is there a brain science reason?
Apparently, yeah. The research suggests that right after you hear the question, there's this tiny window before your fear center really kicks into high gear and triggers the overthinking and the freezing up.
Ah, okay.
That 3-second gap is often just enough time to engage the language parts of your brain before that fear response totally slams the brakes on everything.
Interesting. So if you feel that panic rising when someone asks, I don't know, what did you do yesterday? Don't wait for the perfect sentence. Just start.
Just start. Say anything. The first few words don't need to be poetry. Oh, yesterday was good. Or, let me think. Yesterday.
Just get the sound out.
Precisely. I went to the park. Once those first few words are out, it's like you've turned the engine over. Your brain kind of automatically starts finding the next words, the details. The hardest part is just breaking the silence.
Okay, I can see how that works. Now, here's something really interesting that tackles the next problem. Sometimes you freeze because you don't know what to say, even if you know the words. This is about preparing conversation blocks.
Yes. This is a fantastic technique. It acts like an anxiety buffer. Think about it. Hesitation often comes from the sheer mental effort of translating a complex thought and trying to sound natural and keeping the conversation going. It's a lot.
Too much cognitive load.
Exactly. So conversation blocks are like your pre-made, ready-to-go tools, little mental shortcuts. They take zero translation time in the moment.
So these aren't just single vocabulary words. They're like full little sentences or phrases you've practiced, like emergency responses.
That's exactly it. Think about phrases that buy you a little time or pivot the conversation smoothly.
Yeah.
Instead of stumbling to say, I disagree with your premise, you could have a block ready like, that's an interesting point. Tell me more about why you think that.
Well, that's good. Buys you thinking time.
Totally. Or simple agreement blocks. Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Right.
Or even just energetic reactions. Wow, that reminds me of something funny, actually.
Those are brilliant because they keep the conversation alive. You sound engaged, but behind the scenes, your brain gets those crucial few seconds to figure out what you really want to say next.
Precisely. They maintain the flow. Okay, so now what happens when you are in the flow? Maybe you just used a block, you're feeling good, and then whoops, you make a mistake. A grammar glitch.
Yeah, the dreaded mistake moment.
This is where handling mistakes like a pro comes in. We already said the hesitant speaker kind of stops, apologizes 50 times.
Kills the vibe.
Totally kills the momentum. So what does the confident speaker do?
Okay, what's the move?
The mindset shift is everything here. Remember, mistakes aren't failure. The sources frame them as necessary feedback, data points for learning.
Okay.
So the confident speaker just treats the error like a little speed bump. Maybe they laugh it off slightly, correct it naturally if needed, and crucially, keep the energy going.
So like if you say, he go to the store, you just quickly say, he went to the store yesterday, and keep talking.
Perfect example. You acknowledged it, fixed it quickly, and the conversation barely skipped a beat. You maintain the prosody, that rhythm and flow. That's what people perceive as fluency, much more than perfect grammar.
So you almost have to welcome the mistakes.
Honestly, yes, because every mistake you make and recover from actually accelerates your growth. You're pushing your boundaries and learning in real time.
Okay, we've tackled the mental blocks. We've got some instant tools for the heat of the moment. But how do we make this confidence, this fluency stick? Let's get into part 3. Really training the speaking muscle. This is about the daily habits.
Right. This is the long game. And we really have to bring back that gym analogy here. It's just so apt for daily speaking practice.
Makes sense.
If you want strong arms, you got to lift weights.
Yeah.
Right? You can watch videos about lifting, read books about anatomy. But your muscles only grow when you actually apply resistance.
Your speaking muscle only grows if you actually use your voice.
Exactly. It needs the workout.
And this has to be daily, right? Even if someone listening doesn't have a practice partner available right now, what are the best ways to practice solo?
The sources really highlight 2 main things for self-practice. First, just talk to yourself in English all the time. Narrate your life.
Like, okay, I'm making coffee now. Need milk.
Yep. Checking my phone.
Yeah.
See what's new.
Yeah.
Simple stuff. The second big one is talking to your mirror for, say, 5 minutes a day.
The mirror. Why the mirror specifically?
It's not just about saying the words. It's about training the muscle memory for articulation. Watching yourself speak helps you connect the physical movements of your jaw, your tongue, your lips with the sounds. You get used to forming unfamiliar sounds.
Ah, okay. So it physically prepares your mouth to make the sounds more automatically later. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And that ties directly into the next point, the power of active listening and, crucially, mimicry.
We hear listen more all the time, but active listening sounds different.
It is. Passive listening is just having English on in the background. Active listening is tuning in to how people really talk. The rhythm, the intonation, the common phrases they use, the little interjections.
Like picking up on things like, you know what I mean? Or that's a good point, and how people actually use them naturally.
Exactly. You're learning the melody and the social cues of the language, not just the dictionary words. And the most actionable step here, repeat after native speakers.
Like literally pause a video or this deep dive and say this sentence back.
Yes. Try to copy their intonation, where they put the stress, their energy. Mimicking their prosody, that musicality of speech, is incredibly powerful. It trains you to sound more natural, which dramatically cuts down hesitation because you feel more confident in how you sound.
Okay, connecting this back to the mental stuff from part 1. The body and mind are linked. How does stuff like body language and your voice tone play into feeling and sounding more confident?
It's huge. When you physically act confident, your brain actually starts to believe it. Performance psychologists see this all the time. Standing tall, making comfortable eye contact, even smiling, these things send signals to your brain saying, hey, we're safe, we're in control here.
And that actually reduces the stress hormones.
It can, yeah. It counteracts that fight or flight response associated with the fear. So physically embodying confidence helps you feel it mentally.
So practically speaking, avoid hunching over, mumbling, project your voice a bit.
Definitely project.
Yep.
And crucially, vary your tone. Avoid speaking in a flat monotone. That's a huge killer for perceived fluency. Inject some energy, some curiosity into your voice.
Can you give an example of the difference?
Sure. Think about saying, I like music. Flat, boring. Now compare that to, oh, I really love music. It just gives me so much energy.
Okay, yeah, world of difference. The second one sounds much more fluent and engaged, even if the grammar is simple.
Exactly. It's alive. Okay, finally, the last piece of the puzzle, maybe the most important for true fluency. Practice with real people.
Right. You can talk to your mirror all day, but eventually you need real interaction.
You absolutely do. Interaction forces your brain into that real-time processing, that immediate recall. It's the only way to truly solidify all these tools and techniques.
So how can people start, especially if they feel nervous?
Start small, low stakes. Talk to classmates or colleagues during a coffee break. Find an online English-speaking group. There are tons on platforms like Discord or even WhatsApp. Or try a language exchange partner where the pressure is lower because you're helping them too.
And what about that initial awkwardness? People need to expect that, right?
Oh, absolutely. The sources are clear. Your first few real conversations will probably feel a bit clumsy. You'll stutter, you'll search for words. That's totally normal. But the key message is push through. After just 3 or 4 genuine attempts, you'll feel that confidence starting to become more natural, more automatic, because every real conversation builds that speaking muscle like nothing else. So, let's bring it all together. What does this deep dive mean for you, the listener, who's maybe tired of that speaking freeze? We started with acknowledging that really common, sometimes paralyzing fear of judgment.
Yeah, that feeling that everyone's critiquing you.
Right. And we've walked through a clear pathway. It's actionable.
And the big synthesis, the core message we pulled from all this is that confidence isn't something you just magically find. It's something you actively create. You create it every single time you choose to speak up instead of staying quiet. Fluency genuinely begins the second you decide that flow matters more than perfection. Every word out loud is progress. Every mistake you catch and fix, that's essential growth.
We've laid out 10 strategies here, powerful ones. From the quick fix of the 3-second rule,
Which I love.
and the safety net of conversation blocks, all the way to the long-term gains from daily practice, mimicry, and just embodying confidence. It really is time to move from just knowing this stuff to actually doing it.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to take away and maybe act on. Based on everything we've discussed. If you redefine every single conversation, starting today, as a win, no matter how many grammar mistakes you make, what is the absolute smallest, most imperfect sentence you can commit to saying out loud to a real person, maybe even in the next hour, just to claim that first small, crucial victory.
Go get that win.
Yeah.
Embrace the imperfection. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your research, your sources, and we turn them into actionable knowledge, basically giving you the shortcut to being really well informed.
Yeah, getting straight to the point.
Exactly. And our mission today, it's focused on something huge for language learners, achieving that effortless English fluency. And we're not just talking about, memorizing vocabulary lists.
No, not at all.
We're digging into the actual strategies that get you past that really awkward hesitation.
That painful pause.
Yeah, and just speaking naturally, automatically.
And that hesitation really is the enemy, isn't it? Your sources make it clear real fluency isn't built from a textbook.
Right.
It's built into your everyday life. The core thing we're aiming for is automaticity.
Automaticity.
Training your brain to actually form sentences in English without needing that step where you translate everything from your native language first. That's the bottleneck.
Gotcha. So to get there, we've basically got a roadmap laid out for the material, these 9 key strategies or pillars.
Pillars, yeah.
And these are all about turning your daily life, your environment, into real live English practice. So if you've ever felt kind of stuck, like you understand English, but just can't speak it smoothly.
Which is so common.
Right. Then this deep dive is definitely for you. Okay, let's tackle the big one first. That mental block that just stops so many people. Pillar 1 hits hard. Start speaking even if you're not ready. Because honestly, you're never going to feel perfectly ready.
That's the truth bomb right there. Waiting is a trap. People put off speaking practice thinking, oh, when my grammar's better, or when I know more words.
Yeah, I need another 1,000 words first.
Right. But fluency is a skill you do. It's not just something you know. The only way to get better is by, doing it. Output.
Output.
You have to accept you'll make mistakes. You just have to. And those mistakes, they're actually essential. They're like data points showing you where to improve.
I love the analogy that came up in the sources. Think about a baby learning to talk.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
A baby doesn't sign up for a grammar webinar, right? They try things out. They babble. They repeat sounds.
They misuse words constantly.
Constantly. And they get better through that process. We kind of need to give ourselves that same permission to be a bit messy, maybe a bit vulnerable.
And to fail forward. That's the key phrase.
Fail forward.
I like that. Because if you're waiting for perfect, you wait forever. So the immediate action for you listening right now, activate what you already know, even if it's just, 20 words to describe your breakfast. Use them.
So what does that look like practically?
Talk to your mirror. Seriously. Or talk to your pet if you have one.
Okay.
Or grab your phone, hit record, and just talk for like 1 minute about anything. The goal here isn't perfection. It's just getting words out consistently. Output, output, output.
But, okay, doing that, putting yourself out there, being messy, that can feel really, really uncomfortable, anxiety-inducing even. How do we handle that? And that brings us maybe a bit out of order, but it feels right, to Pillar 9. We need to talk about belief.
Yes, absolutely. Pillar 9 is believe you can do it.
The connection seems vital there.
It is. Pillar 1 says be vulnerable, and Pillar 9 gives you the mental shield to handle it when you inevitably stumble.
Right.
See, people often think fluency means like a perfect accent or zero grammar mistakes. It doesn't.
What is it that?
It's confidence, it's consistency, it's curiosity. If you believe you can get your message across, you're less likely to hesitate, even if you know the sentence isn't quite right.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the belief overrides the fear of imperfection.
Exactly.
And the ultimate goal here isn't just, ticking the speaks English box. It's about being free.
Free, yeah.
Free from that constant internal editor judging every word.
Yeah.
Free to share your actual thoughts, your ideas. And, well, free to connect with people all over the world.
That's the real prize. Okay, so mindset is crucial. Now let's talk environment. Pillar 2 is all about surrounding yourself with English, basically 24/7.
Whoa, 24/7.
Well, the idea is to speak fluently, you really have to start thinking in English first. And that shift happens faster if the language is just everywhere around you.
Okay, but let's be real. If someone lives in, say, Germany or Brazil,
Yeah.
how practical is 24/7 immersion? Their job, their family, that's probably all in their native language.
That's a really fair point. And the sources clarify this. 24/7 doesn't mean you literally never speak your native tongue again.
Okay, good.
It means you intentionally, maybe aggressively, bring English into all the parts of your life you can control.
Like what? Give me examples.
Easy wins. Change your phone language right now. Do it. Change your computer language settings.
Okay, that forces interaction.
Low stakes, constant interaction. Then watch your shows, your movies, watch them in English. Use English subtitles, not native ones.
That's a big one.
Huge. And listen to English stuff during dead time.
Yeah.
Your commute, English podcast, working out, English music or audiobook, doing dishes, same deal.
Right. Colonize the controllable spaces, as you put it.
Exactly.
And the sources mention a specific technique here inside this bubble. Shadowing. You said this is really important.
Oh, shadowing is fantastic. It's a game changer because it's physical. It connects your brain, your ears, and your mouth.
How does it work?
So you're listening to some English audio, maybe a podcast or a scene from a show. You hear a phrase or even just a sentence that sounds good, has a nice rhythm. You pause the audio and you immediately repeat it out loud. Try to copy everything, not just the words, but the melody, the intonation, the stress, the speed.
So you're mimicking the speaker, trying to sound just like him.
Pretty much, yeah. Start small, though. Don't try to shadow like a whole 5-minute speech, just short phrases. The goal isn't really vocabulary here. It's about training the muscles in your mouth, your tongue, your throat, to actually make the sounds and rhythms of English naturally. It builds muscle memory.
Muscle memory for speaking. I like that. Makes it feel less mental.
Exactly. It makes your delivery smoother, less effortful over time.
Okay, that flows really nicely into Pillar 6, which tackles the big reason for all that hesitation we talked about, the translation trap.
Ah, yes. The translation trap. This is probably the single biggest drain on fluency for intermediate learners.
Why is it so bad?
Because every single time you want to say something in English, you're doing double the work. You think it in your language, then you mentally translate it word for word, then you try to say it.
That sounds exhausting just describing it.
It uses up so much mental energy, it clogs everything up. Fluent speakers don't do that. They think directly in English. The sources really stress building that direct pathway.
Hey, direct pathway. Sounds good. But how do you actually train your brain to do that? Just get the translation.
It has to be gradual, like building muscle. Phase 1, according to the material, start super simple, single words.
Single words.
Yeah, look at your lamp, think or say lamp, see your keys. Just labeling your world directly in English. No translation needed.
Okay, I can see that. Then what?
Phase 2, move to short, useful phrases. Things you actually think or say. The coffee's hot, I need to leave soon. Where are my glasses?
Still fairly simple.
Right. Phase 3 is the big jump. This is where the real work happens. You move to full thoughts, your internal monologue.
So instead of thinking, I wonder what's for dinner in my native language, I should force myself to think it in English.
Exactly. What should I make for dinner? Or I think I'll go for a walk later. The weather looks pretty good.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
That leap from coffee's hot to narrating your internal world, that's probably where people give up.
It is hard. We have to be honest about that. It takes real conscious effort and patience. You'll slip back into your native language constantly at first.
So what do you do?
You just catch yourself
Yeah.
and you force the switch back to English, even if the English feels clunky or wrong at first. Every time you do that, you strengthen that direct pathway. You have to deliberately try to narrate your day inside your head in English.
Deliberate internal narration. Okay.
Which leads perfectly into Pillar 5, doesn't it?
Yeah, Pillar 5. Convert daily life into English practice. This is basically putting that internal narration into action in the real world.
Precisely.
Give us some concrete examples of that. How can you turn mundane stuff into practice?
Okay, think about everyday routines. Cooking dinner, narrate the steps out loud or just in your head, in English. Okay, first, I need to chop the vegetables. Next, I'll heat up the pan. Writing a shopping list. Think it through in English first. Right. I need milk, eggs, and bread.
So you're making English functional for everyday tasks.
Exactly. Even fun stuff, like you're scrolling Instagram, see a picture you like. Before you just scroll past, try composing a comment or caption for it in English, just in your head.
Huh, okay. That's a clever one.
The point is to stop treating English like this separate study subject and start using it for the normal, boring, everyday things you do anyway. All right, so we've covered mindset and environment. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of active practice and improvement. Pillar 3 introduces the daily challenge method.
Daily challenge. Sounds structured.
It is. It gives your practice shape and helps you track progress. The idea is to set small, specific speaking goals for yourself each day, or maybe each week.
And these goals should get harder over time.
Yeah, incrementally. So maybe day 1, your challenge is just describe your favorite food for 60 seconds. Simple.
Okay.
Then maybe day 10, the challenge is explain your plans for the upcoming weekend, which forces you to use future tenses.
Right, adds a grammatical layer.
Exactly. Then maybe day 30, it's something like argue for why you prefer movies over books, which makes you use words like because, however, on the other hand.
So you're deliberately pushing yourself into using new structures, new vocabulary.
Precisely. It forces you out of just using the same simple sentences over and over. And a key part of this challenge method.
Let me guess. Recording yourself.
You got it. Record yourself doing these challenges. I know, nobody likes hearing their own voice.
It's painful.
It can be. But it's incredibly valuable. You cannot fix problems you aren't aware of.
True.
When you listen back, you'll instantly hear things. Pronunciation issues you didn't realize you had, awkward phrasing, and those filler words.
Oh, yeah. The ums, the ahs, the you-knows, the likes, the actuallys.
They jump out at you when you listen back. And just consciously trying to reduce those makes your speech sound so much smoother, so much more confident. Almost immediately.
Okay, makes sense. So self-practice, self-recording is vital. But Pillar 4 says that's not enough. You need external interaction. Find a speaking partner or group.
Yes. Solitary practice builds a foundation, but talking to real people builds, well, real-world readiness.
Why is talking to a person so different from talking to my phone recorder?
Because people are unpredictable. Your phone doesn't interrupt you.
True.
It doesn't ask you a follow-up question you weren't expecting. It doesn't speak faster than you're comfortable with. Real conversations have spontaneity, speed, reactions.
Right. Stuff you can't simulate perfectly alone.
Exactly. That interaction, that pressure, it forces your brain to adapt, to respond quickly. That's where the real fluency gets forged.
So how do you find these people? The sources mention some apps.
Yeah, things like Hello Talk, Tandem, Speaky were suggested. They're good for finding language exchange partners.
Exchange partners, okay.
But ideally, you want to try and speak with native speakers or at least learners who are more advanced than you are. That pushes you more. Join online conversation clubs, look for local groups, use social media communities.
Whatever gets you talking to others.
Yes, and that real-time interaction connects directly to Pillar 7, the pressure test. Actively seek out real-world situations.
Ooh, okay. Even if it feels scary.
Especially if it feels scary.
Like what kind of situations, even if you're living in your home country?
Absolutely. Order your coffee in English, even if the barista speaks your language. Ask a tourist for directions, even if you know the way.
Initiate a small conversation in English at an international event or with a colleague from abroad.
Yes. These moments, they introduce nerves, they introduce spontaneity. You don't have time to perfectly craft the sentence.
Right, you just have to speak.
Yeah.
I remember trying to order train tickets in France once. My French was terrible.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I completely froze, pointed, mumbled. It was embarrassing. But you know what? That embarrassment made damn sure I learned the right phrase for next time.
That's exactly the mechanism. The pressure, the slight discomfort, it cements the learning. Your brain goes into survival mode like, okay, I need to respond now.
And that respond now is fluency, basically. Instant response.
That's the core of it. Facing these moments makes the hesitations start to melt away.
Okay, we've covered a lot. 8 pillars. But the sources really hammer home the last one, Pillar 8. As maybe the most important of all.
Yes.
The golden rule. Stay consistent.
Consistency beats intensity. Every single time.
So it's better to do 30 minutes every day than one huge 5-hour session on a Saturday.
Absolutely. Think of fluency like a muscle. You need to train it regularly to make it strong, even 10, 15 minutes a day.
Just 10 minutes.
Yes, 10 minutes of talking to yourself in the mirror or doing some shadowing or narrating your drive to work in your head if you do it every day. It's way more effective than cramming once a week.
Because the muscle weakens if you stop.
Exactly. You lose the momentum. Keep the engine running, even if it's just idling sometimes. Daily practice is key. Hashtag outro.
Wow. Okay, so let's quickly wrap this deep dive on the 9 pillars. The big takeaway seems to be, fluency isn't about waiting until you're perfect or just studying grammar rules.
Not at all. It's about building habits. It's about changing your environment to force you to think in English. And it's about consistent, often low-stakes, daily practice that trains your brain to respond automatically without that translation delay.
And remembering Pillar 9, that belief in yourself.
Crucial. You already have the basic tools. You just need to start using them consistently, every day. Stop waiting.
Right. So, we want you, listening now, to put Pillar 1, start speaking into action immediately, like right now.
Yes. This is your immediate challenge. Grab your phone, open the voice recorder, or just stand in front of a mirror. Ready.
Okay, here's the question we want you to answer.
What do you do every morning before starting your day?
Just talk for 1 full minute. Don't stop. Don't switch back to your native language.
And please don't worry about perfect grammar or finding the perfect word. Just focus on keeping the words flowing. Embrace the ums and ahs if they happen. Just keep talking.
Go on. Pause this. Do the challenge now.
Seriously, do it.
Because by just attempting that 1-minute challenge, right now, you are genuinely taking a massive step closer to speaking English without hesitation.
You really are.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really important: sustainable English fluency. You know, lots of people get fluent, but keeping that fluency sharp, keeping it confident and natural feeling, that's the real goal.
Right. It's not just a finish line you cross.
Exactly. It's more like a marathon. It needs that daily, almost mental training, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And for you listening, that's our mission today. We've gone through a whole lot of research to pull out, well, the 10 essential daily habits you need so your English doesn't just fade away. We're looking past the beginner stuff, really focusing on how you maintain fluency so it becomes, automatic, a permanent habit. Okay, so we've grouped these into 3 main chunks: building that solid foundation inside, refining your feedback loop, and then really mastering performance and resilience. All right, let's unpack this. Starting with maybe the most fundamental thing.
Consistency.
Yeah, straight to one. Consistency. Fluency maintenance, it lives or dies by it. The sources we look at often compare it to fitness.
Like exercise, yeah.
Exactly. If you stop working out, that linguistic muscle, it just fades. And what's really powerful here is this idea of the minimal effective dose.
Oh, I like that framing. Because people hear daily practice and they picture like 2 hours of grammar drills after work, which sounds awful.
Right.
Who has time for that? But the research points to something much more doable.
Right.
Just 30 minutes a day, consistently. Okay, 30 minutes. Why is that specific amount so effective? It seems quite short.
Well, it taps into habit formation psychology. It's short enough that you don't dread it, so it's easier to stick with, even on crazy busy days. And that consistent sort of low-intensity input adds up massively over time, like, say, 6 months.
It's the daily drip, not the occasional flood.
Precisely. You avoid those big gaps where you forget things and have to relearn.
So how do you actually do those 30 minutes? Are we talking one solid block or?
It's better broken up, actually, like tiny immersion moments throughout the day.
Okay, give us some examples.
Well, you could start your day just thinking in English. Simple stuff like planning your morning. Okay, first I need coffee, then check emails.
Right. Internal monologue.
Yeah. Then maybe find 10 or 15 minutes to actually speak. Talk to yourself, journal out loud, maybe a quick chat with a language partner if you have one. Listen to something in English on your commute podcast, audiobook, whatever. And then, this is a key one, end your day by quickly summarizing it in your head in English. Today I did XYZ.
That last step forces recall, doesn't it? Synthesizing the day.
Exactly. It makes you actively use the language to process your own experience. Okay, this leads really nicely into the next bit, which is more mental. Strategy number 7. That shift from translating in your head to actually thinking in English. It was a huge hurdle for learners. Also massive. Translation feels safe, like a crutch. But it's honestly the biggest killer of natural flow.
Why specifically? What's happening in the brain there?
It's forcing double work. Your brain formulates the thought in your native language, then it has to search for the English equivalent, then figure out the grammar, then speak. All that processing takes time.
And creates those pauses, the hesitation, that moment.
Exactly. That choppy feeling just slows you right down.
So the aim is to cut out that middleman, the translation step. How do you even begin to do that? It sounds quite abstract.
You start deliberately small. Don't aim for complex debates right away. Just narrate simple, everyday actions to yourself in English.
Like what?
Like, okay, I'm making tea now, or the weather looks nice today, or I need to remember to call Sarah. Really basic observational stuff.
So you're consciously linking the thought or action directly to the English words, bypassing your native language.
Precisely. You're building direct connections in your brain. Concept straight to English. It feels weird at first, but it retrains those pathways over time. That makes a lot of sense. And if you're training your brain to think directly in English, it needs the right fuel, right? Which brings us to strategy 2. Varied exposure. So many people get stuck just talking about work or maybe their hobbies.
Yeah, and that's a trap. Because fluency isn't just knowing words. It's your brain's ability to instantly switch gears, change sentence structure, tone, vocabulary, depending on the situation.
So if you only practice talking about, say, software development.
Your brain literally hasn't practiced how to navigate a casual chat about weekend plans or understand fast-paced arguments or use informal slang correctly. It hasn't built those specific contextual muscles.
Okay, so the varied exposure forces your brain to become more flexible, more adaptable with the English it already knows.
Exactly. It needs practice across all kinds of contexts. Workplace meetings, yes, but also social stuff, travel situations, casual online chats, maybe even debates if you're up for it. And the sources really stress pushing yourself into these different situations, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Yes, making mistakes in new contexts is actually how you learn. That real-world experience is the only way to make sure your fluency isn't just, good in one specific box. You need it to work everywhere. Okay, that covers the foundation. Let's shift gears to part 2, the refinement loop. Speaking is one thing, but improving means knowing what to fix. We need feedback. Strategy number 3, recording yourself. This one is such a game changer, seriously. When you're speaking live, your brain is juggling so much, finding words, grammar, pronunciation. It just can't objectively listen to itself at the same time.
Right, too much cognitive load.
Yeah. Recording gives you that distance. You can listen back almost like you're listening to someone else. You become your own coach.
Your own editor. Okay, so when you listen back, what are you looking for? Just grammar mistakes?
Grammar, sure, but also patterns. Listen for pronunciation issues. Are you stressing words wrong? Is your intonation flat, kind of robotic? Notice filler words. Are you saying constantly? Identify vocabulary gaps, those moments where you pause. Not because you forgot a word, but because you just didn't have a better, more natural way to say something.
And what do you do once you spot an issue? Just notice it.
No, act immediately, hear a mistake, pause the recording, say the sentence correctly out loud, maybe 2 or 3 times. You're reinforcing the correct pattern right away, building muscle memory, that immediate correction cycle.
Okay.
Okay, but fixing patterns won't help if your vocabulary itself is stuck. Strategy 4, continuous vocabulary expansion, using new words naturally. Yeah, this loops back to the marathon idea. You have to keep growing. It's not just about cramming lists, though. The target is learning, say, 5 to 10 new words or useful phrases every week.
Okay, 5 to 10 a week. But the challenge is moving them from passive memory, where you recognize them, into active use, right? So they come out when you speak.
Exactly. And the key is immediate active application. Don't just make a list. You need to force yourself to use those new words in conversation, or even just in sentences you say aloud to yourself.
So if you learn the word ubiquitous,
You need to try and use it that day. Maybe say something like, wow, smartphones are ubiquitous now, aren't they? Make up a couple of sentences, force your brain to build a context for it. That conscious effort is what really cements it. Okay, so we've got correcting patterns, expanding vocabulary. Now, strategy 8 tackles something subtle but crucial. The music of English.
yeah,
Intonation. Using shadowing. I know advanced learners with great vocab who still sound, well, a bit flat. Yes. Intonation, rhythm, stress, it's the emotional layer of fluency. Without it, even perfect grammar can sound hesitant or unnatural. Shadowing is the technique here.
Explain shadowing. How does it work?
You take a short audio clip of a native speaker, maybe just 15, 30 seconds. You listen once, then you play it again and speak along with them, trying to copy everything exactly, not just the words, but the pitch, the speed, the pauses, the emotion.
Like you're their echo, almost overlapping them.
Exactly like an echo. It feels strange at first, but you're training your mouth and your ear together. You're teaching your vocal muscles the physical rhythm and melody of English.
How often should you do this?
Just 5 or 10 minutes a day is plenty. Consistency over quantity, short, focused bursts of mimicking that native rhythm, it really helps smooth out your speech. Okay, let's move into the final section. Part 3, application, environment, and mindset. Strategy number 5 hits a big pain point. Speaking under pressure. Job interviews, presentations, being put on the spot. Oh yeah, pressure makes even fluent speakers stumble. Your brain tends to revert to simpler language or even back towards translating because it panics.
So fluency isn't just about knowing English, it's about accessing it when stressed.
Precisely. And the key isn't hoping you'll handle pressure well. It's training for it. Simulation builds that mental resilience.
How do you simulate pressure without, a real high-stakes situation?
You create timed challenges. Practice mock interviews with realistic questions. Give yourself a topic, set a timer for 3 minutes, and force yourself to explain it clearly and concisely.
Like impromptu speaking practice.
Exactly. Record yourself giving short, spontaneous talks on random things. Explain how photosynthesis works. Argue for or against pineapple on pizza. Anything. Getting your brain used to thinking on its feet under a time constraint builds huge confidence for the real deal. Okay, pressure handled. Next, strategy 6. The environment. You mentioned earlier that fluency is contagious. It really is. Passive learning, like watching videos, is good. But for sustained fluency, you need active interaction. You have to deliberately surround yourself with English speakers or other motivated learners.
So going beyond just consuming content.
Yes. Join online communities focused on language exchange. Find local conversation clubs if they exist. Study groups. Anything that involves real interaction.
And the benefit isn't just practicing speaking, right? What else do you gain from interacting with lots of different people?
You get exposed to real, living language. Idioms, slang, casual shortcuts, regional accents. Stuff native speakers use naturally that you almost never find in textbooks.
Ah, the unwritten rules.
Exactly. And hearing and trying to use that language in its natural habitat builds your confidence in understanding and using English as it's actually spoken. All right, finally, the long game. Strategies 9 and 10. Tracking progress and maintaining positivity. This feels like the glue holding it all together. It really is. Because fluency improvement isn't always linear. You have good days, bad days, plateaus. It can feel like you're stuck. Tracking, strategy 9, gives you objective proof you're moving forward.
What should you track specifically?
Keep it simple. Maybe the number of new words you actively used that week. How many minutes you spoke each day? Did you review your recordings? Did you identify and correct specific mistakes? Seeing that data, even small improvements, proves to your brain that you are getting better, even when it doesn't feel like it. And that leads into strategy 10. Positivity. Using that data to fuel your mindset. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fluency is so much about mental resilience. When you make a mistake or feel stuck, it's easy to get discouraged. But your brain really responds to positive reinforcement.
So we're talking about affirmations.
Yeah, but not just wishful thinking. Think of it as mental training. Regularly telling yourself things like, I communicate clearly in English, or every mistake helps me learn. Sounds a bit cheesy maybe, but reinforcing that feeling of capability actually helps the language flow more easily. Confidence breeds fluency. So wrapping it all up, it seems the keys are consistency and practice, building confidence through preparation and mindset, and maintaining curiosity through varied exposure and continuous learning. That's a great summary. Maintaining fluency really is about weaving together that consistent daily effort, seeking out different situations, using feedback loops like recording, and keeping that positive, growth-oriented mindset. You do that long enough, and English stops feeling like something you do and becomes part of who you are. Second nature. It becomes automatic. So final thought for everyone listening. We've talked about how tracking progress using self-feedback like recording and positive affirmations help maintain language fluency. How could you take this exact marathon mindset, this system of consistent practice, feedback, and mental framing, and apply it to master other challenging, maybe high-pressure goals in your work or personal life? Where else could the systematic approach make a difference? Something to think about.
Thank you for staying with us till the end. Remember, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about taking action every day.
Exactly. Start applying these tips, speak English daily, make mistakes, and grow your confidence with every conversation.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment your biggest challenge in speaking English, and subscribe to English Speak Pulse for more lessons that boost your fluency.
And for the full episode or podcast, the link is waiting for you in the comments. Dive in and practice every strategy we shared today.
Fluency begins with action, so start now and speak English without hesitation. See you in the next lesson.